essentially, that last portion of Bad Batch episode 7, where Wolf was like, the Empire wouldn't lie to us. The only thing I could think of was this Wendigoon clip.
And remember, kids,
This is
the
basically
next time
Rex.
that somebody tells you the government wouldn't do that, oh yes they would.
That was the only clip I could think of. Was, the Empire wouldn't do that.
Star Wars, Transformers, Godzilla, animation, whatever else. Rebels, robots, and etc.
Well, it's Wednesday night, and we're hanging out yet again, which must mean that it's Starformers Zillimation night. Welcome to Rebels and Robots and Rendering. No RAR this week, even though we are in the middle of March Madness.
I feel like we're still narrowing down the name. I don't love.
We are taking a quick detour from March Madness and gonna talk a little animation with Kung Fu Panda 4 this week.
We have a comic to talk about.
Oh, right. Do we want to talk about this week, or do we want to save that for...
We can save it for
Godzilla
next
X
week.
Kong? Sorry. I still have not read it. I would like a chance to read it. I will read it before next week's episode.
Episode 2
Or
of me
2
wanting
weeks
to
from
talk
now.
about this.
And
6 weeks later.
we are not taking a little snooze from Bad Batch Badness, though, because we do have 2 episodes of Bad Batch Season 3
Bad
today.
Batcher Bardness.
And this is, of course, episode 50. Congratulations, Rachel. We made it 50 episodes. That is...
This is our boat buy-in episode.
Gonna call it... what would we call it? We call it the Athena?
Midlife crisis. Oh, I thought you meant the episode title.
No, the boat.
The Athena. What do you think, Athena?
Where is she?
She's in the tube.
I can't even see her. I can see a little bit of fur.
That's not my fault.
And of course, if you're joining us for the first time, this is our weekly chat about Star Wars and
Transformers.
Godzilla. Now, for a long time, you would mess up the Transformers. You have the Transformers down perfect, but now you're messing up on the third one there. And we also talk about animation and whatever else we both want to talk about. That's a key ingredient to this podcast.
Whatever
it's
we
things we're
decide.
both interested
Just text
in.
each other. We're talking about this.
Because if we
Okay.
talked about whatever Rachel wanted to talk about, it'd probably be the fact that she's watched 16 seasons of Law & Order SVU in the last, 4 months?
Yeah.
When I walked in, she was watching it, and she said I could pause it, and I pause it, and I was curious who one of the actors were, so I wanted to see what season it was. Pops up season 16, I go, 16 seasons? And she's still got 9 seasons to go, and the show is still going.
Yeah, I know. You're telling me, Cameron.
So we will not be talking about Law & Order SVU, because
That's-
I am not interested.
8 more seasons without Elliot Stigler. It's been a long run. We can just have Caleb back, and he can tell me how law actually works, and I will tell him how I think it should work based off SVU and how they do law scenes.
Sounds good.
I don't know. I think some of their stuff, they're like, Your Honor, that's badgering. And I'm like, I think so, but you just did it right back. So
I said we're not talking about SVU. You just snuck it in still. I just let it happen. So we are very excited to talk about Kung Fu Panda 4. Only our second...
surprisingly.
Yeah, we, if you have been listening the last couple episodes, we were kind of dreading it.
I've
The
been ready
trailer...
to cry thinking about it.
The trailer wasn't great. We were hearing very mixed things. The Rotten Tomatoes score was high, though it's dropped 10% since then, which I'm a little surprised at, honestly. I mean, we... spoilers, we had a great time, and we're very excited to talk about it.
For all 12 of us in the theater.
Yeah, not bad for a Tuesday night, but it was the Tuesday after it came out. But so we will be talking about that in a moment. But first, as always, we talk about news, recent thoughts since last week's episode. Rachel, what do you got?
I mean, should we just start off with like the biggest news of the Oscars?
The big news, baby! Yes.
Big news. So, if you've been listening, you guys can tell that we're kind of fans of -1. And by kind of, Cameron enjoyed it, and it reworked my brain.
Hey, it was my second movie of 2023,
Yeah, I know.
so that means I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Oh yes. Cameron really enjoyed it. It was wow. It was an experience. And so, -1 won best visual effects. Won the best visual effects Oscar, which is the first Japanese film to do so, and is the first Godzilla film to win that Oscar. So that's just really exciting because it was going up against some serious competition,
Absolutely.
if you ask me. I know it went up against The Creator. I think it went up. What else did it go up against?
Guardians 3 was for sure on there.
Did it go up against Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer was not nominated. I think
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think it was.
I just don't think that the movie had enough visual effects to get the nomination. Obviously, the nuclear explosion in it was a big deal, but
Most
outside
of,
of
the
that
visual
scene,
effects are Cillian Murphy staring into the camera.
what else was nominated here?
Let me see. And so the one of the things about it is that the director is director Yamazaki. You know, he was included in the winner of the visual effects prize because he also was the visual effects supervisor.
Very nice.
So he's the director and supervisor, and so a director winning the Best Visual Effects Academy Award has only happened once before with Stanley Kubrick in 2001: Space Odyssey.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
So-
The other two films that were nominated were Napoleon, Greasy Little Rat Man, and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
That's what it was. So that's just extremely exciting. It's just nice to see, I guess, technically an underdog film based on its performance.
Yeah, it was the lowest budget of
15 million.
For a film to win this category in over 10 years.
Yeah, so it's just really nice. It's also nice to see a movie you can tell that loved its craft. Not that
Sure.
Napoleon and Creator.
No, this is a very, very strong category, but like there was something very lovingly crafted about this particular film.
So it's just really exciting that they won. The other thing that's really cute is, I don't know if you saw this picture. It's been all over my Twitter. So all of the so director Yamazaki and the other people with him, whose names are surprisingly not on here.
Also, I will shout out also the creator. Half the budget of the other movies nominated. It's our boy Gareth Edwards, who directed Godzilla 2014 and Rogue One. So shout out to him as well.
Excuse me.
We both have the same photo.
Okay. So one thing that was really cute is the visual effects team showed up on the red carpet, not only with each having their own individual -1 little figure, which is super cute. Yamazaki's had a tie on his.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw it.
adorable.
They showed up in custom shoes where the heels were Godzilla claws.
Yes. Well, do you remember we saw these, someone wore these shoes to an award show or something a few months ago.
Did we?
Yeah, I remember showing it to you.
Whoa.
So it's cool that all four of them were wearing it.
And the brand that made them has been flooded on social media,
Very nice.
and they've been posting. They're like, well, you guys might have an opportunity to buy some. So they'll probably be really expensive, but will I at least look at them online? Yes. Do you want to talk about the next Oscar win?
Well, one more thing attached to this. Did you
yes.
see that the team animated and Godzilla accepting the award?
Was that the team that did it?
I think it was official.
Was it really?
I mean, it may not have been, but at the very least, there was a very...
Was that the one I sent you?
I don't remember. It's over text message?
No, Instagram.
That's probably why I didn't see it. Which, speaking of which, that we are... Yes, that. I think that's officially made by the -1 team.
Nelson,
Well, lots of people have posted it. Whoever posted it does not
yeah,
really
I don't
matter.
know. I don't think the guy who made it is in -1. Because he was also like, hey, here's the 3D model, and I feel like the actual effects team would not give out the 3D model.
It's possible that it wasn't the actual team, but it's still a great animation and very fun animation nonetheless. But speaking of Instagram, Rebels and Robots and etc. is officially on Instagram now.
Oh shoot!
So you can follow us there. I went ahead and created one because I want to make. I've had Reels ideas. I guess I could post them on Facebook.
Gives us a third social media to harass the Star Wars.
Well, I just feel like people our age have mass exodus from Facebook or Twitter, the two ones that we're on. So I feel like we got to go somewhere where the young people are. So that's where we're going.
The young people. Oh,
But
man.
that video is a lot of fun, and I think it's cool, even if it's not official. What's the other Oscar? Oh, is it the best score winner?
No.
It's best score was the guy who did the Mandalorian.
Oh
thing.
yeah, Ludwig Göransson. I was talking about that. I was talking about best animated feature.
Oh, of course. Yes,
The Boy and the Heron won best animated feature, which I was really excited for. I was not expecting it to win against Spider-Verse. I mean, I really wasn't, because Spider-Verse took home the Oscar in, was it 2018? For the technically it would have been 2019.
Well, yeah, it would have been the year 2018.
Yes,
was
the year 2018.
movies.
So it took it home. Then I was really hoping for The Boy and the Heron to win, and it did. So that's really exciting. Miyazaki was not there to accept it, but some from the team were.
Someone posted a meme of, I think it's Kermit like waking up and going back to sleep, and it's like Miyazaki winning an Oscar.
Well, and so this is it is not the first time that Miyazaki has won or Studio Ghibli has won an Oscar.
Sure.
Spirited Away won, and he wasn't there that time either. So that's just really cool. Epic dubs for Japanese filmmakers at the Oscars this year. Kind of nice to see some other things win. So yeah, that was enjoyable. I didn't watch the Oscars. It was 10 p.m. and I went, oh yeah, the Oscars are on, and I like stressfully Googled did -1 Oscar, and I saw that they'd won. And I was very excited. So
Love that.
good times all around. Those are really the only ones that I was really don't want to say that I cared about. But those are the ones I cared about, and
those are the two that are definitely relevant
Yes.
to the podcast.
but also good for Ludwig Göransson to win. He's
best
done Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, so good for him.
In other news, this week there were 2 trailers released. Well, at least one we saw in theaters, and I don't know if it was
Ooh.
released.
Before we move on from the Oscars, I thought of one more thing.
Okay,
Sorry.
sure.
Unfortunately, not to cause beef with Jimmy Kimmel, because I'm sure he listens to this, but I'm going to. Jimmy Kimmel he certainly talked. Whether he was funny is up for debate, because he made 2 comments that I think both of us would disagree with. When the category for Best Animated Feature was announced, he made a joke, I'm doing finger quotes, that, all right, raise your hands, how many of you let your kids fill this one out? Which is...
Like, that is actually a known problem with Oscar voters.
Oh, yes.
He is pointing out, he's making fun of the Oscar voters because they do that. They do. They are known for not respecting animated movies and not watching them.
The animation is not respected, but I'm also not a fan of him because we kind of dogged on Rise of the Beasts, but he mentioned Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and he goes, could AI have written the script? Yes. And it was just...
That's definitely a writer just picking a random Hollywood movie that they didn't see.
Yeah. So anyways, as usual, the Oscars are not funny, but there were some good things that come out of it, so...
So, trailers. Trailer is... I'm trying to... Do we need a name for a category? We don't talk about trailers very often. Like...
because you don't like to watch them.
Trailers, right? No, wait, never mind. No, I don't like that one. Anyways, we got trailers inbound for 2 animated films that we might want to talk about later in the year. One trailer was released this week. The other one we saw while in theaters. This movie actually came out last year. It is a French-Spanish animation
European.
based off of a comic. It's called Robot Dreams. I am not seeing a voice cast.
Interesting.
The trailer has no dialogue. I think this movie might be totally silent.
Interesting.
As far as like dialogue, it might be totally dialogue free. It looks great. It is about it's an animal world. 2D animation, and this dog, I would presume, is very lonely, so he orders a robot friend, and you see them having all sorts of fun adventures in New York City together. The movie takes place in New York in a particular year, which is very important. We'll mention that in a moment. Oh, yeah, this film does not contain any verbal dialogue. I love that.
Wow.
It is set to release in theaters in May 21st. May 31st of this year. It was nominated for Best Animated Picture at the Oscars this last week. And the robot ends up getting like rusted out and breaks down and can't get up from the beach. So the dog gets locked out from the beach
For trespassing.
And so this looks like a ton of fun.
It's an anthropomorphized
world of animal people.
Furries.
Or not people.
I'm
They're
kidding.
not like human-esque. They are animals who walk on their back legs and wear
Who are
clothes.
bipedal.
Yes. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I look forward to a chance to see it. It has like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. If we don't have anything, we as of right now don't have anything to cover in late May, so this might be a good one to cover.
Yeah, because we're waiting for The Acolyte to come out.
Exactly. And
Which would actually be like the next week or so. It's June 5th.
if it does come out in June, which is what we're hearing, then that week ahead would be an open slot. The other notable quality was the trailer ended with a landscape shot of New York, and we had not seen anything that indicated this thing took place in the 80s. And when the Twin Towers were there, Rachel and I both did a double take, and we were like, what are they implying with this, that this world of animals didn't have 9/11?
Stop, Cameron.
But then when I looked it up and figured out it takes place in the 80s, it explained that. In an incredibly weird turn, there was another movie trailer about a robot becoming friends with animals. DreamWorks dropped the trailer for The Wild Robot, which also has no dialogue in the trailer.
It's based off a book.
But it also does have credited actors. And it also looks, this is 3D animation. It's DreamWorks. It looks phenomenal. Also, do you know how I figured out about it? Mark Hamill posted the trailer on his social media. He's a credited voice.
I got a YouTube ad for it.
This has a phenomenal cast.
Wait. So it doesn't have any dialogue, but it has a full voice cast?
Well, the trailer has no dialogue.
Oh, okay.
But I'm obviously, man, I am psyched for this cast. So we've got,
you said no dialogue. I thought you meant the whole thing.
the main actor who's credited on the poster, I'm presuming is the voice of the robot, is Lupita Nyong'o, who is a Star Wars actor. She is the motion capture and voice of, and I'm going to totally blank on her name,
Maz Kanata.
Maz Kanata from the new trilogy. She's also in the Black Panther series, 12 Years a Slave, Us. Phenomenal actress. Who else is in this? We've got Pedro Pascal, also famous Star Wars voice, no longer actor.
Voice, emphasized voice.
You've got Catherine O'Hara, who is probably most recently famous for that TV show Schitt's Creek. Then you've got Bill Nighy, one of my favorite British actors. Okay, I actually wanted to bring this up the other day. There's currently 2 inactive movie series that would be part of this podcast, but there's nothing to talk about yet. Jurassic Park. The other one is Pirates of the Caribbean. If a Pirates of the Caribbean movie comes out while we're doing this podcast, we will definitely talk about it. Bill Nighy is the motion capture and voice of Davy Jones. Incredible actor.
Man, talk about CGI that's aged so well.
Yes. You've got Matt Berry, who's a phenomenal British actor. I know him for the IT Crowd. He's become very famous for being in the TV show version of
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows. He's probably most famous for the sound on social media where it's like, he's my boy, he's my big time boy.
My sweet cheese.
Yeah, that's Matthew Berry. He has got one of the best voices in the world. He's so funny. He has a very particular diction. Got Mark Hamill, of course, Luke Skywalker.
And the Joker, if you've watched
and the
anything
Joker,
with
Mark Hamill, born to be a voice actor, and then Ving Rhames, who is most famous for the Mission Impossible movies, which are very close to my heart. Has he ever done anything relevant to this podcast? Is the question. I would not be shocked if he was the voice of a Transformer at some point. No, he doesn't really do. I'm surprised he doesn't really do much voice acting.
Also, in case anyone was curious, we will probably not be talking about the Garfield movie.
I was about to mention that because
We will
Is
not.
he in it? Oh, he's in Lilo and Stitch. He's
Is he Bubbles?
He's Bubbles.
That's funny.
So he has done some voice acting. And then what? There was. Oh, he was also in the rather good Netflix stop motion movie Gwendolyn Wild. All that to say, this Wild Robot movie has a great cast, and after this trailer being so good and us quite enjoying Kung Fu Panda 4, dude, I think this is a time to quickly talk about DreamWorks. DreamWorks was really strong for a minute there in the late 2000s, early 10s. For people who don't know, I just want to quickly rattle off some of DreamWorks' major hits.
Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron.
I was about to ask you what your favorite one is. Would that be your number one DreamWorks movie? Animated film, that is.
It's so hard to rank them.
I understand.
Because I love the Kung Fu Panda movies.
Agreed.
But I don't know. I thought we were going to talk about Kung Fu Panda ranking later.
We can definitely do that.
But Spirit Stallion of Cimarron, the Stallion of the Cimarron, the Kung Fu Panda quadrology, the How to Train Your Dragon franchise.
Okay, so real fast. Here are the DreamWorks animated films in order. Starting in 1998. Ants, Prince of Egypt.
Oh, shoot. I forgot that they're DreamWorks.
That Ants is fine, but Prince of Egypt rules. Road to El Dorado, one of my
Also
favorites.
good.
Chicken Run, not technically made by DreamWorks. That's an Aardman production. Joseph King of Dreams,
That one's not as good.
which is straight to video.
That one's not. So, side tangent, in college, my best friend and I, we watched Prince of Egypt.
Uh-huh.
And then we went, I don't think we've ever seen Joseph King of Dreams. And like the credits are like, we immediately went to Joseph King of Dreams, and the abysmal quality drop is really, really painfully obvious.
Of course, Shrek, and then Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron? Mm-hmm. Sinbad, Shrek 2, Shark Tale, Madagascar, Wallace and Gromit. Again, they didn't
Madagascar, also the quadrology.
Yeah. Wait, is there...
I think there's
If you
4.
include penguins, I think.
Is there only 3?
I'm pretty sure... I think you might be getting a mix up with Ice Age, potentially. There's 5 Ice Age movies.
But that's Blue Sky.
Yeah. Over the Hedge.
Blue Sky doesn't exist anymore.
Flushed Away, also Aardman. Shrek the Third, B-Movie, Kung Fu Panda, Escape, Madagascar,
You like
Escape
jazz?
to Africa, Monsters vs. Aliens, How to Train Your Dragon, Shrek Forever After, Megamind, Kung Fu Panda 2, Puss in Boots, Madagascar 3.
I watched Megamind for the first time in like the past 2 years, and it was good.
Interesting. I haven't seen it since it came out. Rise of the Guardians, The Croods, Turbo, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Penguins of Madagascar, Home, Kung Fu Panda 3, Trolls, The Boss Baby, Captain Underpants,
Ugh.
How to Train Your Dragon 3. I may have said 3 by accident a moment ago. That was 2, then 3. Abominable, Trolls World Tour, which is Trolls 2, The Croods 2, Spirit Untamed, which is a Netflix movie,
We don't talk about that one.
The Boss Baby, The Bad Guys, Puss in Boots 2, last year's Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken, Trolls 3, a movie that just came out on Netflix that I did not realize was technically DreamWorks, Orion in the Dark, and now Kung Fu Panda 4. Now, there's a lot of ups and downs there. There's some, I mean, everyone has different opinions on Shrek. Personally hate Shrek, but it is a huge hit.
Really? Interesting.
Hate Shrek.
I don't love it.
I think with some time, I think there is a relatively consistent quality there. Like there's a baseline that runs through all of that. I guess I just like within.
It just sometimes has Cat in the Hat energy, and not the one, and not the good kind.
You've got,
But
if we're talking about like, obviously the rise of DreamWorks Animation is the exact same time as the rise of DreamWorks. So you have these two competing companies at the same time. DreamWorks, I mean, Pixar obviously the better one before a certain date, but around 2008 and 2009, so 2008 is Kung Fu Panda, 2010 is How to Train Your Dragon. Suddenly, DreamWorks is a formidable opponent, and then again, Kung Fu Panda 2 and How to Train Your Dragon 2, pretty darn good.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure, yes.
Are we transitioning into talking about Kung Fu Panda 4?
I didn't intend to.
Because I
Yes.
still have news.
I thought that talking about Wild Robot made me want to talk about this
Okay.
DreamWorks in
I was
general.
like,
we will talk. We will talk. No, we will definitely continue on news. I've gone on a tangent here. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. But then what happens is, right at Kung Fu Panda 2, 2011, they're looking pretty good. You know, Megamind, even if you don't like Megamind like me, it's a weird movie.
Were the Puss in Boots movies in there?
Puss in Boots is months after Kung Fu Panda 2.
Yeah.
They're in the same year. Puss in Boots, okay regarded. Like, people think it's fine. It's definitely better than Shrek 3.
My parents enjoyed it.
But like, you're not getting nearly to the Pixar level anymore. Like, you're not like in the way that Kung Fu Panda and Madagascar, definitely not Madagascar. Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon are, in my mind, competing with Pixar. But now it's going down again. Like, you're not rising to those heights anymore. You have Puss in Boots, Madagascar 3, Rise of the Guardians, The Croods, Turbo, Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Reads the list again.
And I'm going in order. Now, if you are a few years younger than me, perhaps you grew up with these and you have fonder memories of these. I do not. Well, do you?
I am a few years younger.
I'm thinking of our friends who are a few years younger than even of you who do talk fondly of these movies.
See, because because our friend Megan loves How to Train Your Dragon. I've never seen the How to Train Your Dragon films.
Well, I've never seen the third one. Second one I think is pretty good. It has its strengths. The first one is phenomenal.
I can't get over the dragon designs. I really don't like them from a style point.
That's interesting. You actually surprised me, not without any spoilers, that you made a reference to.
I did make
in the middle of watching Kung Fu Panda 4. You said DreamWorks make a dragon design good impossible. I was like, really? Hot take.
That is my hot take. I probably would be willing to watch them, but I really just dislike their stylistic choice on the dragons. Something's wrong with that boy. No, I don't like it. They don't look like dragons to me. They look like spheres with pointy legs, and I don't like them.
So what I just listed was their run of movies.
I'm sorry, Megan. I'm gonna get flamed for this.
You're allowed to have your own opinion. It's totally cool. That was the run of movies from 2011 into 2014. And then in 2014, the second half of 2014, they have How to Train Your Dragon 2 and Penguins of Madagascar, which is actually a pretty decent run.
That's fun.
I've seen Penguins of Madagascar once, and I thought it was pretty funny. Like, it wasn't incredible, but like, I thought it was fun.
Bad Batch, but penguins.
It really is, though. And then in 2015, you have the movie Home, which I only saw because I worked at a video store at the time and I was watching everything new.
Throwback.
And that movie is hot garbage, dude. Hot garbage. But then the next year, you have Kung Fu Panda 3, which is great, except for it came out in late January, and they totally buried it. No one saw it. And so, while it's phenomenal, it got totally overlooked. Then you have Trolls. And then you have Boss Baby, which are both just memes of movies. I hate Trolls. I've seen it twice for some reason. Despise it. I've never seen Boss Baby because I can only assume it's terrible. Then you have Captain Underparent.
Alec Baldwin throw a tantrum. We could have watched anything else.
Alec Baldwin. That man might be going to jail.
We're tugging our collars uncomfortably as you can't see.
I don't know much about the Captain Underpants movie.
I've actually heard good things about it.
But then what happens is you have that comes out in June of 2017, and then you don't have How to Train Your Dragon 3, which is their next film, until February 2019. That's a year and a half with no movie whatsoever. This is the point
they
where
were cooking, I guess. I don't know.
It is at this point that I assume that they are just making mostly stuff for Netflix. Like they're making How to Train Your Dragon shows and Kung Fu Panda shows and other stuff. And I think their big project through here is Troll Hunters, which people love. I don't know anything about it. So potentially that might be the savior for DreamWorks.
I think Troll Hunters. I think it's
the Swedish movie.
Found footage movie.
Which is great. And then you have Abominable, which I don't know anything about. Then you have Trolls 2, Croods 2. I've not seen these, but I can't imagine they're very good.
I mean, I feel like I've heard like a lot of people enjoy them. I just know the audio clip from the Croods. Everything you need will be right here. I'm hungry in a minute. That's all I think of. I know that. Sorry, I probably peeked to the mic, but that's like the only audio I know.
And then you've got Spirit 2, which is a Netflix original again. Have you even seen it? And we can talk about it in more detail if you want to go off on it some other time.
No, but I might own it.
You have not seen it, but you own it?
You know, sometimes when your grandma gifts you something because she knows you liked it, you keep it.
I love that.
And I was not gonna shun that gift. And you know what? I thought it was sweet that she thought of me and remembered that I loved the first Spirit. And so I took it graciously, and I do have it here in the apartment. I don't think I've actually taken the wrap off of it, but it lives with my other DVDs.
So then you've got Boss Baby 2 as well in that same year of 2021.
Wasp Baby.
So now you get The Bad Guys in 2022, which some people kind of liked.
I actually heard a lot of people liked it.
But at this point, even if you think The Bad Guys is really good, it has been 6 years since Kung Fu Panda 3.
The Dark Ages.
And then, so I would say at this point, DreamWorks is kind of seen as just dead. They are no longer producing things that adults are actually interested in or want to see or want to talk about. The Bad Guys, I still don't think really broke through. It kind of did, but not.
It was a nice change of style from what Disney and DreamWorks had been putting out.
But then you get Puss in Boots 2, which really does actually break through to people saying this is actually good.
See, I actually haven't seen that one.
And I do think it is actually very good.
I just know the whistle.
Yes. But
John Mulaney's in it.
That's not a selling point, my friend. But then you just turn around and you've got Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, which looked fine. And Trolls 3, which is, again, can't imagine. So we're like, I'm not going to say that like one success with Puss in Boots 2 is definitively saying that something is back.
My entire TikTok was Trolls 3 stuff for like 3 weeks. Everyone was talking about it. I went to was it a Christmas party? Maybe it was a New Year's party. No, I went to a friend's gathering, and one of the couples there, they said, we watched, I think they watched Trolls 3 and it made them go back and watch the others. They really enjoyed it.
Bizarre.
They were like, it's a very easy movie to watch.
I don't find the first one easy to watch. I find it aggressively disgusting. But that's just me. My big point here is there's no consistent, like, you may or may not have the ones you like or don't like, but there's not a consistent quality here. There's not a consistent style, really. There's nothing, and it doesn't have to be consistent style necessarily, but there's nothing really to say that DreamWorks is like at all a competitor with something like Pixar, which has made a comeback, or even, I'm trying to think of another animation studio. You know, Sony at least is making Spider-Verse. But then this year, you've got
every 5 years.
What do you mean?
It's making a joke. They're making Spider-Verse every 5 years.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, exactly. This year, you've got Orion in the Dark, which I don't know a lot about, but it does have over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and written by Charlie Kaufman, who is one of, I wouldn't say my favorite, but like is one of our best film writers right now. It's very weird that he's making an animated movie for children. And now we got Kung Fu Panda 4 is good. This Wild Robot looks great. Went through all of this history of DreamWorks animation just to say this year, if they can maintain what is seemingly to be the quality of this year, it's exciting to think about DreamWorks movies again because they're making good stuff.
They saw Disney's Wish movie and they went, we can make better films than that.
Easily. So from the trailer for the Wild Robot, it's seemingly just a robot that's been dumped in the woods by itself. It doesn't seem to know who it is or what is. Very Iron
Baymax-y.
Giant. I would say Iron. Well, Baymax is a ripoff of Iron Giant, in my opinion. But very Iron Giant in the sense that this robot does not seem to like know anything. And I just typed in Iron Giant instead of Wild Robot. And it's like becoming friends with the animals, and it looks so cool. And
really, I thought it looked fun.
I mean, look, this could be one of those movies. This consistent problem with a lot of kids' films is they have a great idea.
No, like I was actually surprised that you're so interested in it.
Well, no, what I'm saying is this trailer might be deceiving because there's a lot of animated films, a lot of children's films that have a really good first act because the premise is strong, but then they don't have an actual plot in mind. So then the plot kicks in and it's your very standard save someone from a thing, or there's an annoying side character. Like this trailer could be just showing the first act. Because like you said, there is no voice cast, no voice acting in the trailer. There doesn't even seem to be any characters who talk that we see. So it's possible that all those great voice actors I listed, that we don't even know who characters they are. There is a shot of a city in the trailer, so there might be a lot more to this movie than we're seeing in the trailer, for good or for ill. But the actual movie that is shown in the trailer, I would be all for. Just a robot
dinking around,
finding out who they are in the wild, making animal friends. Like also the robot is like imitating different animals, like it's walking like a crab. I feel like there's other moments like that, but that's the one that's just in front of us. It fights a bear. Like this looks fun. Makes friends with a fox. It looks gorgeous. So like if this movie is much more visual than anything, he's hugging the bear and a moose and a bunch of other animals. This is adorable. I'm all for this. I love cartoons. There's a fire. There's a duck.
Hey, it's that migration movie.
Yeah. I'm also a big, one of the things that we talked about that was really fun about The Boy and the Heron was the moments where there were a lot of something happening. And this trailer has a lot of that as well. There's like a billion ducks on the screen right now.
You just really like birds, don't you?
You are not going to pull that joke into this podcast. I'm going to censor that.
I can and I will.
But then there's the shot of a city, and that might be when the plot kicks in, and I really hope not. Kicks in. So I could be very well deceived, but I don't know.
No, it looks super cute.
I don't remember being this excited about a trailer in a while. So as we get close, if the reviews are good and they're saying that it actually looks like what it is, or it actually is what it looks like, then we'll have to cover it as well. So potentially upcoming 2 robot related. Also, I'm a sucker for robots. I think I've talked about this before, but it's like Star Wars.
Really? On Rebels and robots?
The robots are the Transformers. And Transformers, on any given particular Transformer, I can take them and leave them, but that's just me. Very long spiel over. What other news do you have, Rachel?
Well, back to -1. So Godzilla -1 wins Best Picture in the Japan Academy Film Prize at the Japanese Academy Awards. Nice. So that's super cool. It's equivalent, Best Picture equivalent Best Picture of the year. So that's pretty cool. It also took home the prize for Best Supporting Actress, Best Cinematography, Best Screenplay, Best Editing, Best Sound, Best Art Direction, and Best Lighting. So essentially, the Japanese Academy Awards, it just swept like Oppenheimer did at this year's awards.
I see. Yeah. So
that was pretty cool. As I said, we're big fans. The other news I have, back to Star Wars, and this is not something this specific topic is not something we typically touch on a whole lot, just because it's not something we talk about, but there's been some news about Jake Lloyd recently, who played young Anakin in Phantom Menace, and so his mom did an interview. Jake Lloyd, again, was young Anakin in Phantom Menace, and after that, things were not good for him. And I think it eventually came out that he has schizophrenia. Yes. That is often diagnosed like in 20s, early 20s for young men. So I know he'd had kind of like a criminal or like some run-ins with the law. But so his mom shared that he's beginning to show just like remarkable improvement in his mental health after he's been in a rehabilitation facility for about 10 months. So his mom came out and said, she was like, it wasn't the backlash to the Phantom Menace that made this happen to him. She shared that schizophrenia runs in their family, and so she'd protected him from the backlash. She did not let him online, which good mom. Star Wars, unfortunately, is the Phantom Menace is unfortunately no stranger to bullying children online, and just about anyone they don't like. But she shared that he's still a Star Wars fan, and he watched the Ahsoka show, and he even got an Ahsoka action figure for his birthday, and then this little picture of him with his mom, and the Ahsoka Black Series figure. So that was I thought that was some some nice good news, because we don't always hear a whole lot about him.
Sure.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been nominated for 6 BAFTA Game Awards in 2024. Animation, audio achievement, music, narrative, performer in a leading role, Cameron Monaghan, performer in a supporting role, Deborah Wilson, and that's Seer, Judd? No, not Judd. That's Seer, his like Jedi Master.
Okay.
Junda, I think. So that's cool. We love Jedi Survivor. We love Cal Kestis in this household and Jedi Survivor. And Ahsoka has been nominated for 5 Critics' Choice Awards.
Okay.
Best Superhero Series.
Wait. Ahsoka has been nominated for Best Superhero Series.
Let me finish. Best Superhero Series, comma, limited series, or made-for-TV movie.
But that's still under the category of superhero.
I know. She's my hero. No. Best Actress in a Superhero Series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Rosario Dawson. Best Science Fiction / Fantasy Series, limited series, or made-for-movie TV.
Bizarre.
Best Actress in Science Fiction, blah, 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 Rosario Dawson. And then Best Villain in a Series, long title, Lars Mikkelsen. So, yeah.
Cool. We've had a lot of awards season talk. I'm done with it.
Cameron, when I share news in the news segment.
I don't necessarily consider being nominated for an award news per se.
Anything about Jedi Survivor is news for me. So.
I see. Well, I don't think my news is going to be much better than that, but I think it's just funny. In the ongoing segment...
Is this another toy commercial?
No. Well, kind of.
Oh my gosh.
In the ongoing segment of weird marketing for something that we're covering, here's some weird marketing for Godzilla X Kong. Something enormous is coming to Roblox.
Oh my gosh.
Godzilla X Kong X Roblox with a blood
So you're
giant.
telling me you're not gonna watch the actual trailers for the movie, but you're watching these
We watched the
trailers.
first trailer. This showed up on my social media. So most of this commercial is just footage from the movie, but the fact that there's some sort of interactive advertising for Godzilla X Kong in Roblox.
There's probably going to be a Fortnite deal at some point. You can choose which kaiju you want to play as.
So I just wanted to continue that segment because I thought that was true. Like they are. I mean, I hope it pays off for them because they're kind of going for it in a weird way for this advertising Godzilla X Kong. So I hope it pays off because I want more Godzilla stuff. That's my last bit of news.
That's all I got.
Okay, so continuing on with Bad Barch Badness, episode 7, The Infiltration.
6 and 7.
I thought it was 7 and 8. Is it 6 and 7?
It was 6 and 7.
How did I get my numbers? Same thing happened last episode. I do not know how to count, apparently.
Well, it doesn't help when we only have a few weeks with single episodes, and then it's hard to count by like actual weeks.
I'm looking at it. It always defaults to season 1 on these things. That completely throws me off. All right, episode 6 is Infiltration. Episode 7 is Extraction. These are very simple plot-wise.
Oops, all clones.
So over both episodes, I'll just quickly summarize the plot for both of them. It starts with Rex's clones protecting a senator meeting with a ex-separatist.
And we know the ex-separatist who's a governor. We see him in season 1.
And who was the young woman? Because she's from last season.
Chuchi.
Yes. And one of the clones that I've dubbed a gun with the CO numbers rubbed off, what I looked up is called a ghost gun. So that's what I'm calling these clones. They're ghost guns. Ghost gun clone. Tries to assassinate the senators, and they manage to capture him. The clones do, and they try to interrogate him, but he's not giving up any information, so they take him back to his base. Big mistake.
And we have the return of a couple of clones that we've seen in previous media.
Okay.
We have Hauser, who was in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
On Ryloth, and then Gree, whose Wikipedia page has been deleted within the past 24 hours. We Googled it. It was kind of weird. If you've seen Clone Wars and paid attention, it's okay if you didn't. If you Google clone Gree, he has the worst haircut. Like, it's the weird, like...
He's got, like, two strips on top of his head.
Yeah, like, awful. But his armor is pretty sick. But yeah, if you, like, Google... I think I saw a list one time that was, like, worst clone haircuts. And that was... I think that was probably the top.
And so they take back this Ghost Gun clone, and the Empire sends another Ghost Gun clone after him, who seems to be an even more advanced one. They never show his face, which means it's almost certainly a clone we know.
Oh, well, actually, okay, let me correct myself, because Gree is supposedly actually the clone decapitated by Yoda in Order 66, but I could have sworn they said Gree in this episode.
Well, this is probably why they deleted his Wikipedia, because they've screwed up the canon.
I actually just found his Wikipedia page again.
Oh, it's back.
I need some Googling.
He does like have very similar armor to that.
Yeah,
that clone.
Maybe he's just like in
maybe they just duct taped his head back on.
Oh my gosh, that's awful. Okay, listen to this interesting title. All good clone trooper deaths in the Bad Batch season 3 episodes 6 and 7. Don't forget Samson, that one who died. Oh, okay, so it's not Gree, it's Greer.
So you've got Gree and Greer?
Yeah.
They're two different clones? That's not confusing.
Awful. His Greer's is the one that was I think you mean Greer Karga. No, I'm kidding. Anyways. Lots of clones, all day.
So we're assuming that this one Ghost Gun clone is someone we know. I would bet most likely Cody.
The one they captured is not Cody.
No, the one that they're sending after them. The one whose face we never see. Because we do see the face of the one that they captured. The one that they're sending after him, we don't see. So it's either Cody or Tech. That's why, there was a lot of talk around the trailer about this season having a Captain America Winter Soldier vibe to it, of there seemingly being a character who's a previous character thought to be dead, who's been re-educated. So that's why I'm dubbing this guy the Winter Soldier clone. He's sent out. He also realizes that Omega is there, so he needs to get Omega out as well as assassinate. So
because they found the first Ghost Guns info puck, and they said, "Oh, the senators were on here. It's like a hit list," and it wasn't just the senators; it was Omega as well, which causes Rex to call
correct
the Bad Batch and summon them.
And so the clone force that is sent to give backup to the Winter Soldier is led up by Wolf.
Yeah.
Who's a clone that is a notable clone from the Clone Wars, as well as one of the 3 remaining clones that is in Rebels.
He is one of Plo's bros.
Very nice.
That is what they are called, I think, canonically.
And that is where episode 6 ends. Episode 7, we pretty much get an assault. No, there was episode 6 ended with a battle that resulted in the clones all getting stuck inside their facility here.
And the facility, I'm pretty sure, is is one of the bases from the original 2008 Clone Wars movie.
Yeah, that was at the very tall.
Yeah, where Obi-Wan and Ventress fight.
And so we get another big fight in the next episode between our good clones and our not so good clones / stormtroopers.
Would you just put an extra O in there? Like
Cloon troopers.
Cloon troopers.
The Bad Batch's ship is shot down by the Winter Soldier. Wolf, though, clearly doesn't trust this Winter Soldier guy because he won't give a name. He won't say who he works for, what battalion he's part of. He clearly doesn't want to take orders from Wolf. After the Bad Batch crashes, there's kind of a weird little argument between Crosshair and Omega. He's like telling her what to do, and she's kind of, snipping back at him, and it cuts to 2 of the normal clones.
Mm-hmm. So,
go ahead.
Just for context, they were trapped in the spire. It was like a spire tower.
Yeah.
Our good clones, and they managed to escape. And the ghost clone.
Yeah, I already said that.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I did.
I said all of that.
I'm so sorry.
It's
I'm
fine.
so sorry.
And so they're having this little like argument, and these clones have actually fought Crosshair before in season 1, I
He was
suppose.
an Imperial.
Mm-hmm. And they just like
And Hauser doesn't like him because when they encountered Hauser on Ryloth, Crosshair was the one that I think that called in backup, and Hauser looks at Crosshair and he's like, most of my men are dead because of you.
okay. So they didn't fight him; they fought alongside him on Ryloth, and his leadership screwed him over. Is that what happened? I don't remember season 1 very well.
Hauser rebelled.
Okay,
was like,
so they did fight
yes.
Crosshair. Okay,
well, or they were executed.
sure. And I thought this weird little look that the two clones gave each other, because the clones are wearing helmets, so when they look at each other, it's just like you're trying to interpret their
you
body
can't even
language.
Look at someone like out of the corner of your eye like you normally do.
Yeah.
You have to like full turn.
So the very dramatic, comical turn whole body towards each other simultaneously, I found very funny. So then more fighting ensues. The Winter Soldier tries to drown Crosshair in the water, which we found
Yeah,
particularly
they're trying to
brutal.
rendezvous with Echo,
Yeah.
who's taken so long to drive the ship back around.
But right before Crosshair gets drowned, someone kicks the Winter Soldier off over the waterfall.
And we have another wide shot of a clone falling. It was really funny.
We were considering adding him to our list of people who are still falling, but we do end up seeing him later in the episode.
Oh, that means Hauser. Or no, sorry. Hauser was not the one that was kicked. That was the random.
Yeah.
That was
Wilco?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we get kind of a standoff between Wolf's crew and the Bad Batch, and Wolf decides to let them go.
Because he recognizes Rex.
yeah.
And he goes, I thought you were dead. They said you were killed in action. Said you went down on a starship cruiser. And Rex was like, yes, I was. And so they kind of have a back and forth. Because Rex is like, the Empire lied. And Wolf's like, the Empire would not do that. And Rex is like, they are experimenting on us. It's bad. And so Wolf, when Echo shows up with the ship, Wolf lets them go. And the commando with Wolf is kind of like, they're traitors. But Wolf just still lets them go. If I didn't know his fate, I would say he's definitely not surviving, but he does.
Yeah. So it's yet another character that we're going to see be convinced that the Empire is no bueno. Other than that, it's mostly just an action-based
I did
scene.
enjoy these 2 episodes, though.
Oh, they were fine. Because it was a double episode, I was expecting something more. Oh, I meant to talk about this earlier, but this is a good time to talk about it. So listening back to our episode 2 episodes ago when we talked about the premiere, in episode 3 when Hemlock shows Palpatine whatever Project Necromancer is, we were making jokes about presuming that it's Palpatine clones, because that's where we are presuming this whole thing eventually ends up, is explaining how Palpatine comes back to life. And I was going through my mind of who else could it be? What other dead characters might be bring to life? We already know. They showed it in the trailer. It's Asajj. Why did we not think about that when we talked about episode 3?
Oh, like a clone of Asajj Ventress?
Or it's her body brought back to life. Like whatever they showed to Palpatine, it's Asajj's body brought back to life, or a clone of Asajj. That's almost certainly who it is. But we know, if we didn't know that
she's not dead at this point.
But they're seemingly, I don't know. I'm pretty certain, because she's in this season, something related to Asajj is what is in there.
Well, there is the book Dark Disciple,
Yeah.
where spoilers,
But
I guess,
when
she
do we
does
know for a fact that takes place after this?
Dave Filoni has confirmed that it will count with the canon of that, so...
And what I'm saying is that probably happened before this.
I would be very annoyed if they took another book canon and...
What I'm saying is
retcon
almost certainly what has happened is those events happened before this episode. They claimed her body, and they are testing their whole bring someone back to life again That's what Project Necromancer is. They're trying to prove that it works.
But they've been trying to find someone with a midichlorian match.
Yeah, I don't know if they've been successful yet per se, but like, no, if we had not seen a trailer with her in it, I would not have made this guess. But the fact that we know she's in this season and she's got a different haircut, I would bet money that this is gonna be what it is. I could be wrong, obviously. I mean, we're gonna find out eventually. This is not a fan theory. It will either happen or not happen. But I am very confident.
It could also be something to do with, oh my gosh, you might be right. I'm gonna be so upset if that's what they've done.
And again, I'm not like advocating for them to have done this. I don't really care.
It takes place after the events of Dark Disciple. Oh my gosh.
And honestly, personally, regardless of like canon or storyline, if I had not known Asajj Ventress was in this and that's what it ended up to be, I would have been surprised. Not like just because like, oh, I was assuming it was Palpatine and it's actually not.
Apparently her death was left open at the end of the book. I'm so frustrated with shows doing books dirty like this. But I'll be annoyed if that's the case.
But also she could be in the same vein as
unless she was brought back because of Night Sister magic.
I mean, we know that's very much part of the universe and was heavily part of Ahsoka. Bork and Dargs.
The other thing, but don't forget, he still has the Zillo monster.
Yeah, and they may have like maybe sucked all of the midichlorians out of that just to make one.
I
transfer.
did see something interesting because someone put a video of that episode where there are slats in the wall behind, and you see something very large moving behind that wall.
Okay, interesting.
In the like in the light and shadow. So,
and just to kind of wrap up that thought. It's very possible that whether it's Asajj's actual body or it's a clone, it's very possible that it's in the same vein as the Ghost Gun clones of it. Whatever it is has no memory or personality.
What if it's just a flashback? It's like they meet someone. It's just like they meet Quinlan Voss, and he just like talks about his girlfriend for a whole episode.
And in his memory, she has weird hair. She never actually had that hair.
She did have that hair in the book, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I see. Okay,
and she had it as a Padawan.
It looks so bad. They're bad at hair in this animation style. That's just generally speaking. So any other final thoughts on these two episodes before we actually talk about the fun thing to talk about today?
They were fun.
Yeah, they're enjoyable, fun action.
We're almost halfway through the season.
Almost halfway through the season, yeah.
And
we ended on episode 7.
Watch them build up to the Clone Rebellion just for them to go, oops, season 4. That would lose me.
Yikes.
That'll lose me.
There are 15 episodes, so we are effectively halfway through the season.
Yeah, we are.
So Kung Fu Panda 4.
So are we doing our 3s?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to propose a new way to phrase it. This does not matter, but for like branding purposes, my favorite thing that we've created around this is the hmms. So I wanted to kind of use that structure. I'm thinking things that make you go, yeah, things that make you go, nah. I mean, things that make you go, hmm. So yes, nas, and
what's wrong with the like? No, like.
It's so basic. I don't know. It's like it doesn't really matter, but that just feels very basic. And I think it's one of my favorite parts of this podcast is coming up with names for our different categories.
Things that make you go,
Cameron's names for categories. Yeah, we said a lot of things that made the other one go, yesterday while watching this movie. But regardless, rough, very, very broad plot outline. Real quick, if you've never seen any Kung Fu Panda movies, Po the Panda is a big fan of Kung Fu, and he gets accidentally chosen to be the Dragon Warrior, the chosen one. Turns out everyone thinks it's a mistake. Turns out to be right. He is Dragon Warrior. Kung Fu Panda 2 and 3 is him kind of fully becoming I almost said Panda Warrior. Dragon Warrior. Now in 4, he is being challenged by his master Shifu to pass on the title and become like the spiritual leader of
the Valley of the Peace, like Oogway was.
And they are in China. Right? They
Yes,
call
they
it
are in
China.
China, yes.
So it is not like a fictional land. They are actually it's an animal world, anthropomorphized CGI animals who are normally their name is just whatever animal they are. Very frequently, at least the Kung Fu masters, and because they are important characters in this, Po has two dads. His adopted father, who was a goose, named Mr. Ling?
Mr. Ping.
Mr. Ping. And then he has his biological father, who is a panda, named...
Lee.
Lee. Thank you.
And funnily enough, Mr. Ping is voiced by James Hong. And James Hong also does some voice acting in Star Wars Rebels.
Oh, yes.
Plays that random
yes.
pig gangster.
And Lee... the panda is voiced by Bryan Cranston, who was also the dad of the main character in Godzilla 2014. And I said to Rachel while we were watching Kung Fu Panda 4, his character in Kung Fu Panda 4 is the opposite of his character from Godzilla 2014. Godzilla 2014, he dies in the third act, and in Kung Fu Panda series, he's thought to be dead and then comes back from the proverbial beyond the grave. But he never actually died. They were just all the pandas were in hiding. So... while Po is struggling with the idea of change and passing on his title and becoming something different, because he's very comfortable being the Dragon Warrior, a new enemy, of course, arises, the Chameleon, who can shapeshift into anyone she wants to, and she's now a threat to the peace of the valley. So Po recruits the help of a thief fox named Jin, voiced by Aquafina, and she's going to lead him to the city. Do you remember the name of the city?
Juniper City.
Juniper City, where they can find the Chameleon. There is like a crime lord over the whole city, and they're going to try to stop her and whatever her plan is. We find out later that her plan is, well, we'll talk about it in a minute because I've got it in one of my lists. It's a twist in what her actual plan is. And... I think the other plot elements will probably be part of our discussion. But that's the basic plot there, is to stop Po and an unlikely ally to go and stop this new villain and learn some lessons along the way. You want to start with one of your favorite Yaz? We'll workshop it. I'll keep going. I'll work on something.
Overall, gorgeous film.
Yeah, beautifully
There's
animated.
There's something always about the Kung Fu Panda films that are just gorgeous. It felt like there were some things I noticed, and I think this is just as animation continues to evolve, because there was... the previous Kung Fu Panda movies have been very stylistically driven. Not that this one wasn't, but they have a very unique, almost angular style, like inspired by old Chinese traditional paintings. Okay. And one thing that threw me is... a lot of the character models just had like hair or fuzz that like they didn't normally. Like, for example, like the little village pigs were all very smooth, and they did a close up of one, and you could see like pigs actually have hair, but it was jarring. But overall, it's gorgeous. They always do wide shots perfectly. There's always something
absolutely.
to look at. Lighting, dynamics.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on lighting in this
pretty.
series, and they always nail that for sure.
And they kept those 2D aspects as well. Some of the action scenes or emphasized scenes will have like 2D overlays, or the like flashbacks will be in 2D. And so I'm glad they kept that, because that's something they could have been like, we don't have time to add. So I felt like it kept to the usual... overall, it kept to like the usual energy and style of
the kind
films.
of mix of styles for to mix things up for sure. For me, to piggyback off of that, this movie has just a great attention to detail. I really respect that this movie takes a lot of time, and honestly, there are probably things I may or may not have noticed, but my ADHD wife was just so quick to point things out to me, and I actually quite appreciated it. There's fun, like I think. And there's a scene where there's bulls chasing our characters, and there's two visual jokes there. One is the running of the bulls, and two, they run through a china shop at some point.
They don't run. They walk through very slowly, not to knock anything over. That was a good joke.
And these are very obvious jokes, but there's at no point does someone go, bulls, get out of my china shop, or, oh, it's the running of the bulls. Now, someone does go, oh, that's bull. But the movie is...
That's a lot of bull.
That's what it was, yes. And those visual gags, I think, are good. Like, they're letting... Another similar one is that there's a bunch of lizards, and they're all just... they're the guards for the enemy, and they're lying around in the sun, because lizards sun themselves. There's a fish who lives in the mouth of a pelican and is constantly drinking because of the term drunk as a fish, which actually I do think they actually say out loud.
Should he be driving?
Oh, yeah. Good
and
joke.
The pelican is his mother.
Yeah, I was going to say that for...
Oh, sorry. We'll go back to that.
That is one of my moments, is the fact that Poe is telling Jin that about his adopted goose father, and the fish then says that he was adopted by the pelican that he lives in. There's a part where a ladder gets like flicked back up into its position and it puts out a candle. And this is not an animation thing, but just like a nice little, movies don't have to explain why a thing is the way it is, but it does make it more satisfying. At one point, theoretically, so the villain knows that Poe is coming, and when he shows up, he gets caught in a cage,
like an iron cage
that he cannot use his powers on,
bound with ancient spells.
And it's a kids movie. You could just say, "Oh, the villain just has this," but the villain's plan is to trap a bunch of kung fu masters, and has a bunch of these cages. There's a plot-driven reason why this character already has one of those. And it's a small detail. They don't ever point it out, but when I first showed up, I was like, why does this, it's kind of out of nowhere that this character would have that already, but it was her plan all along. It makes sense.
Isn't that what they were building at the beginning? At the Ox camp?
Oh, you might be right.
Isn't that what they were building?
That's very possible.
For it?
Yeah, well, there you go. Even another layer to it. That's great. Very,
what a good way to, throw off suspicions by destroying it as someone else.
Yeah, that's true. The first attack is as Tai Lung, which doesn't, that facade is disrupted almost immediately by Jin says who it is, but
Jin gives a little bit of exposition in the jail cell, but this isn't. I think each film does that.
Sure.
Each film, that's how they introduce the villains. That's how Tigress explains Tai Lung to Poe. That's how they find out about Shen. And then they find out about pandas in the third one when his dad shows up. It's all exposition, but you know what? I don't care. I love it.
So that's the end of my list, but just like attention to detail for sure.
You mean of that one point? Or is that all?
That list was my one point of attention.
Okay,
to detail.
I was like, dang.
Attention to detail is my one of three.
Okay.
What makes you go, nah, Rachel?
So I just talked about the art. I don't like. Is it Zin?
Zhen. Okay. It sounded like just saying Jin. Like Jen is what it sounded like. So like a Jin.
I don't like Jin's design in this film. And this is something your wife also pointed out. Jin looks like she came straight from Zootopia. One thing that's really weird, and so this is so I'm going to try to use an example. So I gotta move it back. Actually, okay. This is what I was looking for. Someone on Reddit, actually. So the thing about the Kung Fu Panda style is that it's very stylized. You see it in Tigress. You see it in the Viper. They look like animals, but they do have like the unique, almost like painterly characteristics to them, like how you would draw an animal. Tai Lung has it. A lot of it can be kind of like, can be emphasized with like kind of almost like thick eyeliner, very angular markings, angular proportions. Outside of Poe, he's just round. But so it stands. It's very stylized, and Jin not being like that stands out. And not in a good way, if you ask me. And so this is, oh, I just tried to pull up a picture of Jin, and it's new fox girl from Kung Fu Panda 4. R, as in Reddit, r/furry. So anyways, I'm just pulling up this like picture from the screen cap. So you see someone edited her to look more like the actual style.
Oh, that match. Yeah,
And
I can
so
really see that.
See, exactly. So for those of you listening, you can't see, but I'll try to share the image on our socials. And it doesn't even really take that much to change it.
Yeah.
But it really is. She's too soft.
Yeah.
That's what it is. She is too soft and she's too furry. It's almost like she's been like copied and pasted from Zootopia or from a different animated movie. And I don't think she meshes well within the rest of the style.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So that was
catch.
really the first thing that made me go, oh, the first sad.
Well, she's I would put that as well as my next point is that she's not a particularly, I'd say, exciting character. I use that term because, I mean, if you couldn't tell from our plot description, she ends up being the one that Poe chooses to train. You should be able to predict that very quickly as he needs to train someone. She's obviously going to be the one. And I think she's a fine character. I mean, I was really concerned going in about Awkwafina's performance because Awkwafina is a very particular actress at times.
I did not mind her in this.
She's fine.
She's fine.
But that is almost the issue is theoretically she would be a co-lead. She's pretty much a co-lead of this movie, but she would obviously be even a bigger part in a theoretical sequel to this.
It probably helps that she can bounce off Jack Black. I
think a sequel will really need to amp up her personality and character and give her something unique to do.
I don't know if I'd see a sequel. I would.
I mean, I'll watch it. I mean, especially after this one surprised me, I will watch it. I just think they will really need to figure out her character because she had a pretty basic motivation in this one. This is a good time to talk about it. It turns out that she actually was working for the chameleon the whole time. She had been pretty much trained and raised by the chameleon and had been sent to bring in Poe. I was actually legitimately surprised by this. I did not see this coming.
I was actually also surprised. I remember when it was revealed she betrayed him, my jaw dropped because the goal is a lot of this is focusing around the staff that Poe has from the last movie. It was a gift. It's like a jade staff, and it was a gift he received from Master Oogway when he defeated Kai. And it's like the Dragon Warrior's connection to the spirit world. Yeah. Spirit realm. And so the whole thing is that the chameleon is trying to get a hold of this staff so she can open the spirit world. And so Poe gets trapped in that iron cage, and Poe goes, Jin, get me out. And he is, there's been a lot of conversation in the movie about how you can't just take the staff. It has to be given to you in order to use its powers. So he gives it to Jin to get him out. And Jin just immediately gives it to the chameleon. Yeah.
And that was, like, the movie had been building up. Like, there was a scene before this where Poe trains her how to, which is, it's kind of bizarre. I'll talk about this later. But, like, he trains her how to use it. And then you feel like that's setting up that she will need to use it. So when he's trapped and he hands it to her, that makes sense. Like, oh, this is the moment she's going to become the hero. So I think that's why. And I would not have been surprised if at some point later she has a crisis of conscience and betrays Poe. Like the chameleon offers her choice. That would not have surprised me whatsoever. But the fact that it was the plan the whole time. And it also retroactively makes the movie make a whole lot more sense, which is a good twist. Like, twists should always make the movie make more sense, not less sense. In the whole movie, because, like, at the beginning, the fact that Jin is the only one who knows anything about the chameleon, it feels incredibly convenient and very obvious, but it's a kid's movie, so you kind of just like, oh, this is just how kids' movies are written. Like, oh, this has been the plan the whole time, and Poe is too dumb to realize he's being tricked, and we, the audience, are too dumb because we're from Poe's perspective. So I'm actually turning around and giving a positive, but there's just not a lot to this character, because then once this happens, the rest of the character's arc is very, like, the character is a very obvious, never had anyone nice to her, never had
I'm not like
friends.
No, I'm kidding.
And so she's just like really confused by Poe, and then you always have this character. Like, it honestly makes me think of Puss in Boots in Shrek 2, but what's brilliant about Shrek 2 actually is that Puss turns immediately. That there's not this whole long drawn out thing with Puss in Boots. Like, he is sent to kill Shrek and then they immediately recruit him. So this character obviously takes a lot longer. But I will again give another compliment: attention to detail, things being properly set up. When Poe is giving Shen some training, she says, "You're not like the other masters I've met," which was a weird line of dialogue to me at the time. I thought, when has she met masters? She was talking about the chameleon.
Or she was talking about the masters the chameleon killed.
Also possible. But I think it's a line of dialogue that makes no sense when she says it. Not particularly makes sense, but does make sense after the twist.
Now, something I wanted to bring up about attention to detail is that something I thought was interesting is that, so when we see the Jade Palace in this film, it's different. It looks so much different than how we've first seen it. And that's because in Kung Fu Panda 3, Kai destroys it.
Oh,
Kai
okay.
destroys it. And so they had to
see.
rebuild it. So that was kind of some nice continuity because,
Sure.
It could have been really easy. Granted, I don't know who still has the Jade Palace 3D asset on a flash drive somewhere. But, they probably could have been like, oh, they rebuilt it to the exact specifications, but it looks different. And so something that was interesting is, so this is a screen cap from number 3. And so the golden dragon that held the dragon scroll at the top of the roof, Kai yeets it off the mountain through the building. As you can tell, we're not having a good time.
Rachel came prepared with slides.
And so it is in Kung Fu Panda 4. It's in the Den of Thieves.
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
It's like in a bit of corner. Now I can't take credit for finding this.
Well, who would notice that? That's very. It's in a dark corner.
Yeah, and there's the head, and so you can be thinking, well, how did they get it? In the absolute aftermath of the Jade Palace being destroyed, and if you find a big old dragon gold head, you probably sell that.
Yeah, totally.
And so you probably steal that.
Do you want to go to another positive?
Yeah. So one thing I liked in a narrative standpoint was I liked that all throughout the movies, Poe is growing past the expectations set for him and the expectations for himself. In the first movie, it is him becoming the Dragon Warrior and saving the valley. It's unlikely hero, overcoming the hero's journey, kind of, but a lot of it's very internal, and there's some maybe external too because he has a bunch of training. The second one is him in his role as Dragon Warrior, and he has to confront like the beasts of his past with Lord Shen. If you haven't seen Kung Fu Panda 2, Lord Shen genocided pandas because there is this vision that a warrior of black and white would destroy him. So he has to fight against his past, and move forward with that before he can really truly defeat Shen. And in the third film, he's is Dragon Warrior 2.0. He has mastered harmony, like yin and yang. And then the third one, when Kai shows up, who's a vengeful spirit, Poe is put to the ultimate test spiritually. You almost have like this trilogy of physical growth, emotional growth, maybe like physical, like maturity growth in a way, emotional growth, and then almost like spiritual growth when Poe has to tap into the spirit world in order to defeat Kai. And then you have this movie, and like going into, you can almost think like Poe's had his complete arc. What else could be there to happen? And so we then have this storyline of Poe has to grow in his identity past what he's become comfortable with. And that's what we see when Sheaf is like, time to find a successor. Poe doesn't want to do that. He's been the Dragon Warrior. That's been his identity. And so he's having to come to peace with the idea of no longer being that. And I just thought that was really cool because I was really wondering, what are they going to do? Like,
Yeah, that's a really I love that you brought up that point. I totally agree. And it's reflection of reality. And
You don't stay in the same position forever.
and it's a subversion of what movies normally do.
Unless you were born in the 1900s and you got your job and you worked there till retirement.
Sure. Movies tend to not know how to progress characters, so they just subvert them. Or, I mean, regress them.
Thor.
Yeah. Thor 4 is... And, like, there is certainly in reality, people do not just keep growing. Some people regress and have to relearn lessons. Absolutely.
Sure.
But it's the majority of sequels, that's what they do, is the character regresses so they can go through the same... They can learn the same lesson again. Poe has been a phenomenal character in the sense that he learns something new every time, but he also doesn't lose his personality. He's the same character, but he keeps on growing. And I mean, I think one of the biggest, genuinely, one of the biggest problems with adults is they try to get to a place where they've quote unquote arrived and they want to stay the same the rest of their life. And this movie's about, no, even as like the greatest warrior in the world, he still has a new role to live. He has to keep growing. I use the word identity, which is an incredible choice. And so he gets to choose someone like him in the sense of he was the person who needed to be the panda, not the panda warrior, the dragon warrior was someone who needed a chance to change and grow. And that's what he's going to do, the same thing. All that's incredible. For the fourth movie in a series called Kung Fu Panda, and it technically made for children, like that is a phenomenal basis for this narrative. I totally agree. Absolutely. On the absolute opposite side of that, I would say as a positive, this is also an action series.
It is.
And it has this series is probably among some of the greatest action movie series
it's so
ever.
energetic.
I mean, they don't, I think people think animation and they think, oh, of course you can have, no, you cannot take anything for granted just because it's animated.
We've talked about bad animation before.
Absolutely. This series, on one hand, deals with it tries to have a sense of physics. It's not necessarily real, but there is consistent physics. They're not like gonna have the characters have weight to them. There are consequences to different blows and the way people are hurt.
Animation will always have exaggerations, but you can have the exaggeration as long as you keep it consistent and keep it within. If you exaggerate the realm of physics and you keep it consistent, it works.
But they also play around with the fact that it is a cartoon and ridiculous things happen, but there's never something that happens you think, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like it makes sense within this cartoon world, and they blend humor and storytelling into the action. And like this movie could have had a terrible story, but if it had this action in it as the structure, I'd say that's still a win, because it would be very easy for this movie to have just like, if they brought in I think at some point, the studio who's making it has to make a calculation. And if they think the movie is going to make less money than the previous one, they're going to spend less money, which might mean they get a less talented animation team or a cheaper animation. Like, it might not even be the animation team's talent. It might just be they're working for less money, so they can't put as much creativity into it. There's also, you could have a separation between you have the writers over here, the animators over here, and there's not much of a connection. So the animators are just animating what they're told to make. All that to say, the action scenes, the variety, the styles. I'm going to quickly run down some of the ones that I've written down. The first action scene, Poe fights a flying giant manta ray. Is it manta ray or manta ray?
Manta.
Very visually interesting. Just kind of a fun opening action scene.
Also, first time I think we've seen an animal that is like a fish.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
That's sentient maybe in the franchise. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Seems like it. There's this this can't think of the proper word. A bar, effectively, a saloon. That's what I was looking for. That is on like the edge of a cliff, and it's very rickety. And there's two scenes that take place in this. They get so much juice out of this location, and it's super fun the way it gets broken, so it's rocking back and forth. So the weight of the characters inside of it are in that. Also, in this same action scene, why I liked it is that Poe is not trying to hurt anyone. He doesn't want to fight. So he's stopping people from hurting themselves, and he's trying to incapacitate his enemy without hurting them, which is one of my favorite kind of action scenes, is when action scenes get boring when it's just two people trying to punch each other. But if it's one person trying to punch the other person, but person A is actually trying to accomplish something without hurting person B, it's one of my favorites. There's a scene where Poe fights a bunch of the lizard guards in silhouette, like a very bright light. Again, just throwing in visual style. And the final fight against the chameleon has, so we didn't really go fully into it. The chameleon's plan was to get the staff to open a portal to the spirit realm and one by one bring over the former Kung Fu masters and absorb their power. So
she's got Tai Lung, she's got Lord Shen, she's got General Kai, and then I think actually old previous masters who I don't know if we saw them in movie 2, but they've definitely died since then.
Yes. And so that final fight is
Scott the alligator.
The chameleon can shapeshift into individual masters and use their powers, but then she morphs into one. It ultimately just becomes a dragon, but she is like all of it at once.
This is where my DreamWorks dragon slander came in.
Yes. And that fight is also very visually creative. And so, like, was there anything I'm missing, you'd say, in that list of action scenes?
The flashbacks with Jin, when she's talking about her childhood on the streets, have like very bright, almost 2D color overlays, which they're just gorgeous. I love when Kung Fu Panda does stuff like that. They do it in every film.
Yes.
It would have been so easy for them to go, we're not doing 2D animation. It's too expensive. But they do, and it's a lot of fun. It's a nice break. It kind of helps. They do it when stories are told.
Yes.
It is Poe's intro. In the second one, it is the story of Shen. In the third one, it's like Poe's dreams, his weird dreams that he has, I think.
Yeah.
And no, it's not. Nope, that's movie 2. In the third film, it's the story of Oogway and Kai in this 2D. And then in this one, it is her flashback. So it's mwah.
So I would like to do do the rest of our weak points so that we can end on our final positive. So give me your next 2 weak points.
As much as I love me and as much as I love me myself, as much as I love Lee and Mr. Ping, I thought that they kind of had a lot of screen time in this film.
I was surprised at how they are the B plot of this movie.
They are the
just
B-plot.
them trying to catch up with Poe.
And I don't mind them as characters. I think I both like them as characters, but they definitely added a bunch of humor. If anyone was curious, Cameron was busting up laughing during the theater. During the movie.
This movie hit just the right pitch for me.
Bro was cackling. But so, because they're good moments. I don't know, but they were, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing by any means, but I think maybe some of that time could have been better allocated more towards the latter half of Poe and Zen.
Fair.
I think the last third, while granted you can only stretch things out for so long, I think maybe would have possibly benefited from some extra, I don't know, exposition or other narrative choices during that aspect. So
yeah, and that's what's your other one? Do you have another?
I didn't really have like a lot of terrible bad things to say about this.
It's a strong movie.
I had more like
I see.
I kind of missed some of our original cast.
Sure.
We get the Furious 5 and like mentions. And this is probably, but I mean, we kind of talked about this. I think I leaned over to you. I said they couldn't get Gary Oldman back for this. One of my favorite comments I saw online was they said no phone lines for Kung Fu Panda 4. Like no sending
implying they could have had any actor just phone in their performance.
I mean, there's only so much you could do. But I was kind of missing the original 5, but maybe from a narrative standpoint, you could have looked at it as Poe is doing this on his own. The Furious 5 is doing what they need to do. I don't know what they're doing. It says what they're doing, but this is a journey he has to do on his own. And then, but I don't know. I think it would have kind of been interesting. I mean, you have the 3 big bads. Actually, what I think would have been really cool is if after Poe defeated, quote unquote, the chameleon, or if he had to, if the spirits had to help him, like an unlikely team
Yeah.
up, because you have all these three big bads that Poe has essentially banished from life.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting if it would have been like, this is a forced team up against the chameleon. Considering Poe, they had this big fight, and then Poe skadooshed her.
We're just accidentally wandering a bunch of hmms today.
Maybe I should. But he defeats her essentially in kind of like one go at the end out of nowhere after they hit her health bar down to like 4 points or something. I don't know. I think the dragon, quote unquote dragon, because that doesn't look like a dragon, but that's just me.
I mean, it's not a dragon, but it is a dragon, but it's not a dragon.
I just think there could have been maybe more time utilized towards the end and more things with the spirits utilized.
I think that's very fair. I think my big weak point comment will very well connect to everything you just said, but to kind of like, you said I was laughing a lot. I definitely was, but one of my 3 points kind of contradicts that. I would not say the movie's unfunny. I would say it's uneven. There are, I think when it's funny, it really got me. I really appreciated it.
Tickled your funny bone.
But when the jokes didn't land, man, is it quiet. And I think it contrasts, like it sticks out like a sore thumb, because we talked about how dynamic and energetic the action scenes are, but there were sequences with this dialogue and it's supposed to be funny, and the camera just holds, and like it feels like a totally different movie. Like the action scenes and even like character beats are so well directed and animated and visualized, and these comedy sequences that are just supposed to be comedic, that aren't like necessarily physical comedy, but like our lines of dialogue, it just falls so flat. So that's a weak point in the movie, is that it is not consistently funny, and it tries too many times to be funny and falls flat. My big point, though, is it is overall, the series has established a very strong narrative structure, and that the third acts of these movies are oftentimes so good. Like everything comes together so well. And I would say the movie starts off strong narratively, and then by the time you get to the third act, very similar to what you said, it kind of just feels like the third act just kind of happens, and there's not a lot of emotional payoff. Now, I will, when we talk about our final summarizing, there are things I definitely like about the third act. I do think the movie is emotionally strong, but like, for example, in complete contrast, Kung Fu Panda 3, the big climax is Poe has to convince all of the pandas to fight back. And that is a great third act.
And they do.
And
I save him, and I cry every time.
All of the pandas fighting in the third act of that movie is so good. It's very much like the Ewoks.
I was thinking about like the spiritual fighting they did. But yes, continue. Yes, continue.
I mean, if we're talking about just third act battles, the final fight in Kung Fu Panda 3 is incredible in the spirit world.
They are a group of pandas who are pretty much hiding out because they were almost driven to extinction. They don't want to fight.
Yeah.
They're happy living their lives.
But you contrast it to this movie, Jin ends up recruiting all her former fellow criminals, and we've only met them like twice in the movie, and it doesn't really make any sense. It's all played off a joke. The joke is they try to convince them to do the right thing, and they take the wrong lesson, is that they all want to be violent, and they get a chance to be violent, and that's why they join the team. Decent joke, but it's not very emotionally satisfying. It feels like you have a comment.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that, because Ke Huy Quang maniacally laughing most of his lines is not on my bingo card for this film. Who's in this film, and we love him. So.
Yeah, he's great. But so like that's a big part of the third act, and it feels so similar to the pandas from Kung Fu Panda 3, but it feels nowhere near as satisfying. And the third act is just very full of your traditional third act things. There, the Jin repeats some things back to the chameleon that she said to Jin. That's a very obvious third act thing. Doesn't feel very satisfying. The moment Poe trains Jin to use the staff, she's going to use it in the third act. It's just like the way the third act plays out for the majority of it, the big beats. And again, there tends to be, Kung Fu Panda 1, Tai Lung is a failed dragon warrior. So
he's not even a failed dragon warrior. He was rejected from
Well,
it.
yeah, like he was meant to be the Dragon Warrior, and it
Yes.
didn't work out.
Yeah.
And they don't even meet. One of my biggest beefs with most movies, is, I think I say this all the time, is that the villains don't meet.
Yeah.
But in Kung Fu Panda 1, it works really well that it's not until the very end that they meet, and it's very satisfying that it's really the first time Po is successful as a Kung Fu master, and Tai Lung totally initially dismisses him. And
You're just a big, fat panda in an Ian McShane voice.
Incredible voice performance by Ian McShane.
Who's back for this film, FYI.
And not doing as good of a job, unfortunately.
You know, I thought that
He's
too.
just okay.
I think, is that why I leaned over to you and I was like, is that Ian McShane?
Yeah. He probably did do that from his home.
Hey, Ian, will you? Yes.
So that fight is so satisfying. The peacock from the second one killed, seemingly massacred all of the pandas. That's a great reason to fight him. So they have an emotional history together.
I saw a really funny comment that said, Lord Shen looks like they woke him up from a nap. When he comes out of the spirit realm, he's like, he looks sleepy. He's sleepy boy.
And the third one, what is
General Kai.
General Kai, who's like a water buffalo,
He is a water buffalo.
voiced by J.K. Simmons.
Oh,
J.K. Simmons' voice performance makes that character, and while he as a villain's not as satisfying, the fact that Po comes to full actualization at the ending,
Po, think.
the fact, like, just the actual battle itself is so good at the end. Those three final battles are phenomenal, and while I do very much enjoy the final battle action-wise, Jin has a pretty good reason for wanting to fight the chameleon, but Po himself, it's just another villain.
I leaned over. Oh, sorry, not to
No,
cut you off.
keep going, keep going.
I leaned over because it we'll get to our final summarization, but it ends with Po sending the spirits back. Do you care if I say what happens?
No, go for it.
They take the chameleon back to the spirit world, which, not to get on a
can't be
tangent,
good.
but that's that is a horrifying fate, to be stripped of your mortality.
Yeah.
That's just, that's like really kind of twisted and scary. But I leaned over to Cameron and I was like, they're gonna beat her up the second that door closes. That was my thought. I'm
Eternal
like,
torment.
no, for real. They're like, but yeah, I think it was fun. I think it would have benefited from maybe a few more key players. Granted,
Yeah.
maybe they couldn't get J.K. Simmons because maybe his paycheck would have been like the budget of the film. Who knows?
Yeah.
Speaking of J.K. Simmons, did you know he's in a couple episodes of Law and Order SVU?
Not surprised.
He plays a psychologist.
But to respond to something, I mean, just kind of wrap this up, you talked about the two dads storyline, B plot. I am conflicted on that. I think it was really enjoyable. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is so it's very obviously set up through dialogue that Poe's dad has no confidence or bravery. And when they show back up at the rickety saloon,
Happy Bunny Saloon.
and he walks in and he puts on this character where he's like, oh, you fought the panda? Well, I trained him everything I knew except for one thing, mercy. And Bryan Cranston is going for it. Bryan Cranston, who is most famous now for being the main character from Breaking Bad, one of the most like well-regarded performances in the Western world media, television, film, no matter what. This guy is really putting in, really trying, or maybe he's just so good he doesn't have to try, but it feels like he's trying. That scene is amazing. So like, while I don't know if the subplot with the dads was really that necessary, I love that scene so much.
There is an aspect because the whole last film, there was tension between them because Poe's going to find his family. His dad has come and found him, his biological dad, and Mr. Ping, who has raised little Poe since birth, is struggling because he's like, that's my son.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
My boy!
and so it was kind of actually interested to see them interacting as friends. They run the noodle shop together now.
Yeah. So while they are not necessarily plot necessary, I did enjoy their scenes. And I'm glad. I think they're both incredibly lovable characters. There's a hilarious visual gag of they do an opening for their new restaurant, and Mr. Ping the goose is dressed as Poe in like a
dressed
panda
as a
costume, which
panda.
is really funny. Side note: when this movie started, I totally thought to myself, I thought James Hong had died. And I was like, wait, is that someone doing an incredible James Hong impression?
Hey, did you know James Hong is also in an episode of Law & Order SVU?
Shocking. And I'm trying to bring up how old he is. His IMDb page is not loading for some reason. Because he's old, man. He's been around for a long... He was in Airplane in like 1981. Like that was... He is 95 years old.
Holy crap.
Still kicking, man. He is still... Now, if it comes out in a few years that his voice was actually AI in this movie...
No, I would be so upset.
I cannot believe... This man is probably... He's probably got like crazy stories. No, he... No, see, is actually... Where is he actually from? Like, was he born here? Was he born... He was born in Minnesota. That's hilarious. Is his accent is totally fake, or is he just maybe born and raised in a Chinese household and just adopted his parents' accent?
I don't know.
Interesting. Anyways, all that to say, I do agree. When we have the issue of the third act, it doesn't feel fully fleshed out. We could have used probably one or two fewer scenes with the dads, or made their scenes a little shorter to give us... Because, in contrast... I think this movie does an incredible job. Another biggest, and I know we're going way over our limit here on things we're supposed to talk about, but I did think about this.
We still have our last good in the
I know. A thing that sequels do is they assume that you care and know the character.
I do.
But I think sequels should always reestablish the character. And I think this movie does an incredible job of visually and through show don't tell reestablish that Poe's a good guy. I mean, like I said, the scene where he doesn't want to hurt anyone. I think Poe is as lovable in this movie as any other one, which is a feat because I think you could really take that for granted.
I saw some people saying they dumbed him down, and I was like, I think he's always just kind of been...
Yeah, I agree. It's possible you could perceive that, but I think it's just him being nice.
It's also just Poe being...
Yeah,
Poe.
Is the character. And so I say that to say this movie does have the ability to make us feel for a character, and they don't really accomplish that with Jin. It's going to be my final negative is the movie. There's so much on display talent in these films.
It's still a movie about Poe, really.
Yeah, ultimately, I would say, yeah, he does go through a very satisfying arc of accepting his new role. That's why I would be interested in a sequel, is to see what that actually looks like for him.
Next one's fantastic Kung Fu Panda.
I think the potential issue with a sequel to this would be if you want to keep Poe as a main character, you have to make him a fighter.
Mm-hmm. Or he takes the role of Shifu or Oogway and he's kind of there.
Well, I mean, yes, I think I would theoretically, so my fear in a sequel would be they would undo what this movie did in the sense of he has to do one more mission or something.
Yeah.
Now, off the top of my head, if I were to write a sequel right now, I would say you have more training for Jin, and it's like a tournament. And so Poe is there the whole movie, but he is like her coach.
She's been training with at the very end. She does train with the Furious Five.
Yes.
They come back. They don't say anything.
I was going to talk about that as well.
Sorry, spoilers. Lots of hmms.
So give me your big final positive point. What makes you go, hell yeah?
Oh, I didn't save it for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I told you I wanted to end on a positive.
Yeah, it is a positive. It's not like the positive, the most positive thing.
Well, give me your final.
Okay,
whatever you have
sorry.
left. Whatever you have left
Let's
for
talk about the art
positives.
first. I liked the chameleon.
Okay, cool.
I liked the chameleon as a villain. I don't think she's the strongest chameleon.
Which we have not mentioned, voiced by Viola Davis.
She killed it.
Viola Davis, if you don't know, just real fast, some major roles. I believe she won an Oscar, was nominated for an Oscar for The Help. And she's in the newest Hunger Games prequel.
Oh yeah, she's the she a game master? I haven't seen it. I don't know.
I do not know. So she says
or maybe
she's a doctor.
Okay.
She is Amanda Waller in the 2 Suicide Squad films.
Never seen those.
Which she is really good in that part. And anything else notable? Sorry, I'm seeing if she does. I think she's done some voices before, which means there's a chance she was in Transformers.
Who hasn't been at this point?
Okay, not many voice performances. Those are the main ones. She's pretty good, I'd say.
And I actually kind of I think it's a very interesting character concept. I think there's an aspect of, okay, so we have a fourth villain, how are we going to I don't know. What's the shtick this time?
Real fast. Guess who was in 7 episodes of Law & Order Special Victims Unit? Viola Davis.
Which seasons? I've probably seen her.
From 2003 to 2008.
I have seen her then. Possibly.
As Donna Emmett is the character name. I'm not.
Wait.
Season 4, Season 6, Season 8, Season 9, and Season 10. And I said at the top of the podcast we were not going to talk about SVU, and it's come up 4 times.
I love Viola Davis, but man, that lawyer made me mad.
I cannot believe SVU keeps coming up. Gosh dang it. It's my fault. I brought it up. I can't.
Caleb,
she was
Caleb
also...
Jacoby, can you make us an outro theme that's like SVU or SVU styled?
Please don't. I don't think he listens anyway. So continue your defense of her. As
anyways,
a good
talking
character.
about the chameleon. I think it's interesting to talk about.
I didn't mean for you to pause. I'm just standing up because my legs are tired.
I could hear the chair. Anyways, so I think it's interesting because there's absolutely an aspect of you have 3 stellar villains, and kind of thinking like, okay, so what are they gonna do? And so you have this villain, that. The goal is to underestimate her. Mm-hmm. She's small. Yeah, she's a chameleon, which are not really typically known for their formidable fighting skills, if you ask me. And so I like it that she can shapeshift. I think that's really cool. I don't know. It felt pretty unique. We haven't seen that in a film necessarily. We have seen Tai Lung uses his brute force. Shen uses his wit and quickness. Kai does dive into utilizing others' powers and strength, which I'll get into in the portion.
Okay.
But overall, it was really cool because I don't think while she took on their strength and skills, it didn't actually change her herself. It's like she was hiding behind them. And so it's interesting hearing her backstory of why this is all built up is because she was underestimated. So kind of a deep-seated childhood reason, but I don't know. I found her really interesting. Viola Davis killed it. Actually, I was really surprised she's a new like I talked about how Jin's style was just design is just not great. The chameleon looks like she fits in the universe. Whoever was her character lead killed it.
Sure. My final positive is I think that the movie was successful on an emotional level. I think I've pretty much mostly hit these points. Some examples though. Jin finally kind of decides to turn over with Poe, but they have like a fight because Poe wants to go off and fight the chameleon by himself, and they run at each other, and Jin hugs Poe. I was like, whoa, that got me. I didn't expect it, and I felt like that connected with me emotionally.
Why am I crying in the Kung Fu Panda 4 right now?
As I said earlier, the surprise of the double cross by Jin, I think, was actually very well done.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
The movie. Got caught in a loop. The movie. The emotional climax is all of Poe's former enemies bow to him, which I thought was an incredible payoff for this, for him to move on.
Yeah, I was going to talk
about that. Was great. And I talked about it, but yeah, Poe, the movie being about not staying the same, and your enemy is a chameleon who changes. Great structure for a film, and I think a great message. And but also the movie is not about just moving forward, because I can't remember the exact line, but someone says to Poe something like, "Everything you have learned will become part of who you will become," which is a great line as well for a 4th movie.
Destroy the past, kill it if you have to.
So yeah, that's my final summarizing positive, I'd say. We want to talk about
Yes, I got the
Poe's dads keep saying "our son," which I'm not against in theory. 2 fathers raising a son, but the fact that they are not a couple,
they're
but
co-parenting.
They keep telling strangers "our son," and it's like, you guys got to stop saying that. You can't. It needs some explanation. The Furious Five just get expositioned
Oh my
away.
gosh, I was really sad about that.
So if you haven't seen this series,
I had that as not a bad thing, but a bummer.
the Furious Five are the previous like team of expert kung fu masters in this world.
The original choices for the Dragon Warrior.
Yeah, and they are major players in the previous 3 movies. They are also all of them very famous actors.
Angelina Jolie,
Jackie Chan, David Cross, Lucy Liu, and
I just had his name. Jonah. No,
not Jonah Hill. The other guy. Dang it, totally gone.
He goes.
Dang it. Seth Rogen. Which quick aside.
When we go monkey that originates no, but that's Jackie Chan. That's not him, but that originates from the Kung Fu Panda show. FYI.
Quick aside. A movie that a really rare instance, I think, in the Disney film that came out just a couple years ago, Chip and Dale. It's a
it's like a Who Framed
Roger Rabbit-esque. All the fictional characters are quote unquote actors.
With Ugly Sonic.
And there's a scene. There's a character in it voiced by Seth Rogen, and they're at like a convention or something. He gets knocked out, and he stands up, and over him are all Seth Rogen voice characters, and one of them is the
Mantis.
The Mantis.
Oh my
from
gosh.
this, and they're all laughing.
That's
It's a good joke. That movie's pretty good. Seriously, I do it's on Disney Plus. I
Really?
do recommend it. It is a fun movie, and that's probably
have
one of my
any-
3 favorite jokes in the movie.
Stinky cheese. Are you cops? That's another line I know from it, and the fact that Ugly Sonic is in it.
Ugly Sonic is the other really good joke in there. So the fact that these very major characters from previous movies there's a quick line of I don't remember who was it, but it explains where all of them are. They just get exposition away.
Mantis is trying not to get his head bitten off by his new bride. That's funny.
Oh, that is a good joke.
I was like,
yes.
oh.
The first initial form that the chameleon takes to fight Jin and Po is an elephant, and there was this running theme of Po trying to use a peach pit as a metaphor to like growing into something
That's what
more
Shifu
with
told
Jin,
him.
and Jin blows it up the elephant's nose. That's a moment.
Is that like straight into the brain cavity?
Yeah, I don't
Because
know.
if you
It
look into
makes me uncomfy.
like a skull. There's just a hole,
Don't like that.
just lobotomized by a peach pit.
Mr. Beast is in this. I think he only has one line of dialogue. Poe has some kung fu masters
Imagine if
trying out.
It was John Mulaney. He's throwing everything.
There's some
his second film playing a pig.
kung fu masters try out to be the Dragon Warrior, and one of them is a pig painted like a panda. Which is that panda face that he's? And
Oh my-
anyways,
okay, we're gonna move on
And
from that.
all he says is skadoosh, and it's Mr. Beast for some reason. And a thing that
Are you doing all your hmms?
yeah, this is my final
Okay.
one. I think they probably did this in previous movies, but I noticed it really obviously early on, and it kept happening. This movie thinks that geese quack. Mr. Ping
I think that has
quacks,
been a running gag.
but it keeps happening, and then I think he actually says the word quack, or it's like written out, but the movie keeps doing it, like drawing attention to it, and it's a really bizarre running joke.
I think that is a running joke in the other ones.
Those are all my moments. What do you got?
Shoot, I forgot it. You just said it. It is 2024. Can we leave screaming goat memes in 2011 where they belong?
As soon as that happened, I knew
I
you were going to say that. I found it kind of funny because I didn't expect it, and it's very short. It's not a running
do you
joke.
like how it took me to the third time it happened and I leaned over. Is that the screaming goat meme?
I thought it was fine. Because it's an animal world, I thought it was okay. Do you have any others?
Yes.
Please, go.
So I go back and forth on it. I'm not sure how I feel about Poe essentially retiring so young. And we talked about how and one of the cool things about this movie is the growth. You don't stay in the same place for forever. So maybe the Dragon Warrior isn't a lifelong title. Maybe it is like in the time and place, you're the Dragon Warrior, and then when you're done, you do pass it on. But it's interesting because it feels like there hasn't been like any time that has passed since the third movie. And so maybe you could argue that trilogy is his time as Dragon Warrior. He has brought peace to the valley a bunch of times. He is actively defending it. I don't know. Maybe it's just something that he's fulfilled his like little Dragon Warrior prophecy. He has technically almost ascended past it. So maybe once that happens, his true destiny was not only Dragon Warrior, but this spiritual leader, which was really funny. They kept referring to him as. It just feels like it's like so. It feels so soon. Fair. And I'm fond of this series, so it worries me of the immediate shove out for a different character.
Maybe Dragon Warrior is like being a professional athlete. You hit 30 and it's like, oh man, look how dang old this guy is.
You only get 2 terms for it. It's like I almost said it's like a congressman, but we don't have terms for those. Anyways, we're going to move on. The FBI doesn't listen to us.
Okay.
Or do they? And my last one.
Please go. Yes. I saw it.
Oh, no, actually, I can't count. I had 4 hmms.
Keep going.
So I thought it was very interesting Poe's reaction to Juniper City because it kind of gave the energy of like a rural farm boy in big city for the first time. But I was really sorry, I was laughing because Kara gave Athena a scratch.
She dodged me.
She did. She
like that, the regular show clip where they're trying to hand out the flyer. The guy just like limbos under him.
It was just really interesting because Gongmin City from Kung Fu Panda 2 was decently sized. Yeah. There's a whole chase through the city that spans about 4 minutes. That's how long the song is. And so it's very, I don't know. I thought it was really interesting. It's like you've been in a city before, unless it would maybe be the equivalent of like going to like Denver and then to New York. Maybe it's that kind of aspect. I don't know. I've never been to Denver, so I can't. Maybe that's. But like a city and then going to actually a much bigger city.
Yeah,
so
that's a fair enough.
But I just thought it was kind of like, bro, you've been in a city before. Why are you so shocked?
I think you've been here before.
Yeah, maybe it was just the population. They had traffic, which was kind of funny. And my last, All right. So we're gonna get into some deep lore. So
is the Hollow Earth involved in some way?
No, it's the spirit realm, and this is just kind of like
not that different.
Something that I thought was interesting. I'm not opposed to it, but the 3 main villains, showed their respect to Poe. Cool. And you can argue that after getting curb stomped by a panda, once you get into the spirit realm, maybe you do a lot of reflection, realize maybe that you didn't do some good decisions. But that also brings up the aspect of, if that is always true, Kai spent 500 years training in the spirit realm to steal others' chi so he could come back and destroy Oogway or the Dragon Warrior. It's really interesting that, I don't know. It was just kind of, I don't know. It was just kind of something interesting that, and maybe, I don't know, again, maybe it's something that they were like, Dragon Warrior beat us. Maybe we should have, I don't know, maybe they've repented. I don't know. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like I said, I'm not opposed to it. I do think it might have maybe felt more earned if they had fought alongside Poe.
Sure.
Or maybe they were moved, and I say they by the 3 main villains. They're moved by Poe fighting for them. I don't know. We didn't get to hear Kai or Shen talk, so we wouldn't know. But so it was just, it's very interesting. One thing that was also in the attention to detail, when the spirit realm was opened, the doors were different depending on who opened it. When the chameleon opened it, the doors, they're quote unquote doors, because they're not real.
Yeah.
was very scaly and very
Yeah.
dark and ominous looking. And then when Poe did it, it's the typical light. I also found it interesting. She's like, I'm going to take the kung fu of all the masters. And I'm guessing, did Oogway ascend further? I was almost kind of surprised that he didn't make an appearance. I don't know. I think my first choice would have been Oogway.
I think she knew she couldn't take on Oogway.
Or maybe that too,
Oogway would
yeah.
have blasted her into hell.
Oogway would have been like, squashed her.
Have fun in hell.
So that was just kind of interesting, especially just, I don't know. It's like I said, it's a
I understand. All right, real fast. Song corner, because
Yes,
I know
listen.
you love the score of these movies in general. You love scores. Very few films that I think, because of the fourth film in this series, I'm very familiar with the music from this series without even intentionally. So the music does jump out to me a little bit. I think the music's very strong. What tracks do you recommend to people?
In this film or in the other
In this
ones?
one.
In this, okay, so I'm actually going to be honest. I enjoyed the soundtrack. I do think it's weaker than the others. It is.
Fair.
When I looked it up, it's really only like 50 minutes. It feels a lot shorter than the other ones.
Okay.
I don't know if as many of the tracks were as memorable as some of the other ones, but ones I really liked were A Different Path, I Am the Dragon Warrior, and my favorite actually is, it's pronounced skadoosh. That one I really liked that one. That's the one you hear at the end, and you had asked me when the spirits were returning what the track was. It is a mix of Oogway's theme, but it's also the Dragon Warrior theme. I had mentioned Spirit Realm. Spirit Realm is a little bit different. There's like a tiny bit of it in there, but it was mostly Dragon Warrior and Oogway's theme, which is the overarching theme of everything. But yeah, those are my three. I didn't pick three on purpose. Those are just ones I like most.
I also like, it's pronounced Kadoosh, just like that's the final kind of action beat. Be the Pit is a more like, I think every movie is going to have its more emotional sequence with strong music. That's the one I liked. I think there's a good time to talk about, there's a chase through the city, and the music is a rendition of Crazy Train by Black Sabbath, and I think it's good.
It's really
I
not
like it.
noticeable until
Yeah.
one part when you hear the very specific riff it's the orchestral choir, and I leaned over the camera. Is this Crazy Train?
And this the use of this very popular song, but in a different form, made me really appreciate. So for a long time, I think because of Shrek, actually Shrek probably caused this. The use of especially All-Star and Shrek 1 caused animated films, especially DreamWorks films, to have lots of popular songs in them.
Didn't they do Hallelujah too?
Yes.
Yeah,
And anything can be done well. But then again, in 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy has again popularized the use of pre-existing music. Everything wants to be Guardians of the Galaxy now. It's just like we are so relentlessly hit with unnecessary use of popular songs. It made me really appreciate that this film series does not do that. That being said, actually quite funny, the end credits is Jack Black and his two-man band Tenacious D doing a cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time, which is totally fine for the after credits. It's fun. And actually, I think it's very fitting because the first film ends with a rendition of Everyone Was Kung Fu Fighting as done by CeeLo Green, when it should have been Jack Black. It sounds like Jack Black. Why it's not Jack Black, I don't understand. So I think this is kind of justice for that. Oh yeah, great score. Two more things I want to do. One, I have a potential reading of this film. I think, one, it works as a fun metaphorical reading no matter what, but it could be intentional because these are animators, and something that's very relevant to animators right now is AI. Now, I know that's a key term. I know everyone's talking about it, but I do think this is genuinely relevant to this movie. This movie is about a entity that can replicate others is seeking out to try to become like them, can perfectly replicate them, but cannot actually do what they do because what they do was learned through years and years of passion and heart and practice. And this evil entity wants to try to do that instantaneously by stealing it. that's what AI is to animators. I think that may have been intentional on the part of the people who made this movie because it feels very relevant. At the very least, people take animators for granted and think that it's very easily done. And I think
that reminds me of a time in college with one of my friends on a movie night. I said, "It's easy." It looked at me. It's easy. The computer just does it for you. And he still lives to this day, but he came close.
By your mercy.
By my mercy. He came close to not. And I looked at him and he immediately retracted that statement. And also everyone in the room went,
So that's my reading of this film. My final thing I want to talk about real quick is I would think you and I are probably in this world among the much higher defenders of this movie as a complete trilogy.
Yeah.
I think even people who like Kung Fu Panda probably don't like the sequels or don't like the sequels as much. You and I defend this series as a very solid
I've been
trilogy.
seeing it on TikTok, like the majority of people hate it.
This new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are
And
now
I was expecting to be one of those and I'm not.
Yeah, we are now very firmly in a very niche group who think this is a very strong 4-movie series.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's well reviewed. This one, it has a 6.6 average on IMDb. It's got a 71% Rotten Tomatoes, which is very positive. But you and I would definitely go above and beyond those numbers.
Is it the best? I don't think so.
The fourth one? Absolutely not. But you and I would definitely agree that this is a solid group of 4 movies.
It could have been so much worse.
Oh,
It was
100%.
so enjoyable.
Absolutely. And I think there are lots of series who have incredible trilogies, and that is no easy accomplishment. But there are also lots of series that have a very solid trilogy and then a terrible 4th one. And so I wanted to quickly show, I want to list series that failed at number 4 and series that were good at number 4.
I know which one of the series you're going to say.
So, because I think it's really incredible that from our perspective, Kung Fu Panda 4 has now joined some incredible series and has done something other series could not. Series that failed after having 3 good movies, and obviously these are subjective, but theoretically these are movies that I think have a good trilogy and then a bad 4th one. Pirates of the Caribbean.
I knew that one was coming.
Lord of the Rings.
There's a 4th one.
Well, the Hobbit
I was like,
prequels.
what? I've never seen The
Thor.
Hobbit. Ugh.
Great. I mean, Thor: Dark World is okay, but it's still, I think, it's a solid trilogy. Terrible 4th one. Indiana Jones. Die Hard.
Okay, fun fact. The 4th Indiana Jones is the first one I ever saw.
That's funny.
So it actually has a soft place in my heart.
I think those are some of the most famous film series ever, and obviously have very strong. Well, most people don't like the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels at all, but I think a good number of people. You can, at the very least, if you watch all 5, you would see a very clear indicator from 3 to 4 is wildly different. But people agree. Lord of the Rings is great. People normally like Thor 1 and Thor 3. Most people agree Indiana Jones trilogy is solid. Die Hard 2 is okay, but Die Hard 1 and 3 are phenomenal. In between here is Star Wars.
I was gonna say that Phantom Menace was
Star Wars is complicated because Star Wars has an incredible trilogy and a bad 4th one, but in the long run is overall what's
the bad 4th one?
Phantom Menace.
Oh, you were actually counting that as a 4th one. Okay.
Yeah, but then if you actually go chronologically, it's a really strong series. So in the middle there is Star Wars. So you can say it's either done something Star Wars failed to do, but it's also kind of joining Star Wars and being a really solid fantasy series with ongoing characters. For me, so these are series that actually are good 1 through 4.
Quadrologies.
Mission Impossible, one of my favorite series, is 6 incredible movies. Toy Story, all 4 amazing. The Rocky movies. I don't love 4, and I've never seen 5, but then you have the Creed continuation. The Mad Max movies, all 4 are really good. The Avengers, I love all 4 Avengers movies. I know you don't love Endgame, so you'd probably disagree.
I wouldn't say it's terrible, just like for me personally. It's just my favorite.
Fair enough. But I think all 4 Avengers movies are really good. That's another incredible list that it has now joined.
By the Kung Fu Panda franchise.
And
I love that.
One final note, and I think it's not super relevant, but something I've been thinking about as a result of this movie is anytime a sequel comes out, people are normally another one, but if you look at like James Bond, people don't really say that as much with James Bond. James Bond is just a series that has a movie every 3 or 4 or 5 years. But I would imagine when James Bond 4 came out, people will probably be like, another one? Now, I'm not saying Kung Fu Panda should have 20 movies.
I absolutely went, and what? when they announced the fourth
but
was
like
coming out.
there is a point where maybe you never know. It doesn't fail until it fails. Theoretically, we might get 6 amazing Kung Fu Panda movies. You never know until it gets there. But like retroactively, we might look at Kung Fu Panda series as like, of course there's 6 of them. They're great. Like of course there's 20 James Bond movies.
Time.
So and of course there's 11 Star Wars movies. Wait, is there? Yeah, 11. There are some series that they break through a threshold and just keep going. This is that first threshold that you have to break through. And I'm not saying that should be, but a Kung Fu series, it could, if it can grow past Poe, especially, there's a lot they could do. So that's my final note is this series has potential legs, man.
So what's your ranking?
1 is, I think, very close to unbeatable. I like 3 a lot. I think 3 is my second favorite one just because I love the pandas. And that final fight is just an incredible ending of the series. I like 2 a lot. There's something missing from 2 that I enjoy it, but I don't love it. So it kind of drops down. I think it's strong. And this one is just under 2 for me. So for me, it's 1, 3, or the 2 I like a lot. 2 and 4 are pretty good.
So in my ranking, like they're all very close. So it's like, there's like one after the other. So my top is 2. Everything past the fireworks factory, where Poe gets launched. He gets shot by a cannon, and actually everyone thinks he's dead. That is actually kind of crazy to pull halfway through the film. And so just for like everything past that, where he meets up with she's like a sheep or a ram, the shaman who nurses him back to health. All of the knowledge he gains in like learning harmony and finding out what happened to his mom. I cry every time. Finding out what happened to his mom, his return. Also, I think has one of the funniest bits where he's monologuing at Shen, but he's 3 buildings away, so they can't hear him.
Oh yes,
that's
good.
And then
good
and
joke.
then overall, like the end battle, everyone coming together and they lose. Anyway, all that to say, 2, and then 3. I loved the ending of 3. I thought it was very rewarding how the pandas fought back, not only physically, but they regained the power of chi, which they lost after so many years. So good. It was 1 and then 4. So 4 is at the bottom, but not by like a considerable amount.
That's kind of crazy though. You have 1 under the other ones. That's really interesting.
2, 3,
to
1,
me.
4.
I think 1 also has a slight improvement for me, even more than it might have, because it feels like a better version of the Star Wars prequels. Or not even just prequels. Star Wars Kung Fu Panda feels like taking all the original 6 Star Wars movies and making one story out of it.
Returning to
where you have a new chosen one defeating a previous chosen one, potential chosen one who's angry at, and there's the master who connects them too, and it feels very Star Warsy, but it does it so well, and I love that element of it. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us for this very long talk about Kung Fu Panda 4. We clearly
did
had a lot of
not
fun.
expect it to talk this long about it.
Check it out if you've never seen any of these. Watch all 4 of them; they're great.
Do it.
Let us know what you think.
The music's good in all of them.
Yes. And that leads us to Meme Minute. But is it longer than a minute? Actually, it's normally longer than a minute, much longer. But is it longer than a meme parsec, meme mastersecond, meme render time? If you've ever had to render some animation, they can take some time,
I pulled
man.
a couple all-nighters. I know what.
Rachel, you got any videos?
No, but this is a meme, and you know I made this one because I told you, but it's not the one that I made, so you can't guess it. So I was really nervous going into Kung Fu Panda 4, so I made we talked before Rise of the Beast came out. One of the Twitter pages, I think it was Crazy Ass Moments in Transformers History, had a folder of memes if Rise of the Beast is bad and memes if it's good.
Yes.
And so I made one in case Kung Fu Panda 4 was bad, and it is that cartoon of 2 people on a bus on a mountain road, and the guy who's looking sad, seeing only the view of the mountain wall, captioned "Watching Kung Fu Panda 4." And the guy looking at the happy sun smiling captioned "New Art of Kung Fu Panda 4 book," which I collect those. So that's in case it was bad, but it wasn't bad. So it's a win-win.
Okay, my first link, I know it works. I'm just, for some reason, it's refusing to work. Okay.
I'm not gonna wear my Wi-Fi.
Man,
It's like sucky today.
It's a really bizarrely formatted video.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, I'll try to get it to work in a minute. So this one is like in the far left, you have a video and it's quite small, and they go to the left. So at far right, it's small, gradually getting bigger, and it's a bunch of people all singing this song together, like in unison, and they're all labeled the different Prime names, and the last guy is Rodimus Prime. And the guy with the tuba is Rodimus Prime. I thought I'd get you with that one. Okay, here's another video.
I have a shotgun. Let me prove it. I have a shotgun.
So it's a drawing of Godzilla, and he just blasts Kong in the face with his comic breath.
Let me prove it.
And his little hand drawing. I thought it was really cute. Okay, come on, work. I'm so mad. Okay, let me... no, come on.
Athena's been sitting by her bowl for the past 30 minutes.
Oh, poor girly. Oh, man. Okay. Show me your first meme. While I get this to work.
This caption: "Are you wearing the Godzilla -1 Oscar shoes?" Yeah, I am. It's a scene from Devil Wears Prada.
That's actually quite like that.
I should have been holding my Godzilla figure this entire night. Ugh, devastating. I'll do it next week.
I guess I'll try to resurrect this meme and I'll bring it next week.
Aww.
So memes. No, I'm not in my folder. I was trying to go back and I just started getting lots of random photos.
Cameron.
I was not prepared.
Cameron.
Okay. So it's the format of there's like the attractive guy talking to the woman in the office, and she's like, "Oh, you're so sweet." And then it's like a kind of a nerdy, overweight guy, and she's like, "Hello, human resources." Except for the attractive guy is younger Anakin and says, "I just genocided sand people," and the girl is Padme, and she says, "Oh, you're so sweet." And then it's Anakin, "I just overthrew the Republic."
Eyes. Oh no. This picture two vehicles next to each other. You've got a little souped up pink Toyota and a just plain black SUV, and you have pink Godzilla from Godzilla X Kong driving.
I have the same meme.
Dang it! Driving the pink vehicle, and then you have Godzilla -1 of the plain black.
I love that. It's in the original meme. It's Nick Fury, played by Samuel Jackson.
Oh my gosh!
looking
Is that
at
the
one.
end of Avengers?
No,
Or
it's
Infinity
from
War?
Winter Soldier.
Oh,
when he looks
okay.
over and there's a cop looking at him, but it's edited in such a way that it's Sam Jackson looking over his shoulder, and he's in all black in a black vehicle, and it's a pink vehicle is this one YouTube guy in an all pink outfit looking at him with a stupid face. It's very funny. I like it a lot. So this last week, we got the original Battlefront games remastered.
Yes.
And this is from Toy Story 2. It's Andy is holding the new game and he drops Woody, and it's the newer Battlefront 2. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Oh no.
How many memes do you have? Do you know? Well, I have a lot, and I can save some for next time.
8.
Okay, then I have like double that, so I'll save my other half for next time.
Cameron, I only had 1 week to find memes.
I found a gold mine, so
I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this planet die. And it's a picture of Mr.
Charles Dance from
Charles,
Godzilla 2.
From Godzilla King of the Monsters on Mr. Waterloo.
Oh,
Is that his name?
Water Noose.
Water
Yeah.
Noose from
That's really
from
funny.
Monsters Inc.
That's really good. I like that a lot. Here's a dumb math joke. It's Darth Maul igniting his blades, and he has one ignited, and it says radius, and he ignites the second one, and it says diameter.
Did Megan make that one to send you to trick me with?
It's a very Megan joke. I
Megan
hope
make
she
that one to
likes
trick
it.
you with me. We have a picture of Godzilla -1 accepting his Oscar.
he's bigger than the whole stage. I like that.
But he's
That's
inside.
fun. That's fun. This is Optimus Prime, and Megatron is looking at him and says, "He will never be Christian." And then it's a YouTube video. Optimus Prime reads the Bible, Psalms 23, and then Megatron is just falling over.
Oh my god.
Oh, the internet is so broken, but so great sometimes.
Wild West.
What am I? Oh, I'm slowly getting it. Now. Why do you have this on this podcast? Just because it's an animated character?
It's one of the ants from
Yeah.
Ants, and he's wearing the Oppenheimer hat because he looks like Cillian Murphy.
She actually. The fact that I know that is
She
insane.
looks like Cillian Murphy.
It's the lead. It's the princess ant from Ants. That's so dumb.
She looks like Cillian Murphy.
That like slowly dawned on me. Okay, so Yamazaki is the last name of the man who directed
Takashi Yamazaki.
Godzilla -1.
-2.
I almost said -2. I don't know why. And it has the logo person and their heads replaced with the Toho logo. Toho is the company that made the Godzilla movies. This is my boyfriend Yamazaki, and this is Yamazaki's boyfriend Godzilla.
Nice. I was captioned, "Bro, I ain't going swimming ever again," and it's a picture of someone who's swimming in the ocean, and they've edited miles below Godzilla swimming. You can see their feet.
I
They
see.
picture the deep ocean.
This I think we've had this basic format before, but it's just an image of it's King Kong's back, and he's staring out over the embers of the Kong nation. It just says, "Man."
Man. POV, you entered the wrong classroom.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's so
It's
good.
just picture of front-facing eye contact Godzilla -1 at all the desks.
That's so funny. Oh, that's good. Oh man. This Rachel, would you say you come on this podcast to get called out? Would you say you're prepared to be called out? Because this meme's gonna call you out. It's just a image of a crying woman, and it says, "I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Godzilla -1 again."
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, that's pretty right. Yep. Sorry.
Tell me when you get to your last one.
This is my last one.
Okay, good.
This is the picture from the Oscars, from the I'm Just Ken performance.
Okay.
Where Ryan Gosling is being held up by everyone, and all the guys are standing around him in like a big old pedal, and Ryan Gosling is captioned "me," and and then it's captioned "my alarms," and all the Kens in the background have different 5-minute alarm intervals, and I just thought, yeah, that's really funny.
That's good. That's good. This is like a drawing of
Drawn.
it's a little cat guy with a bow tie on and an empty basket.
You're a little cat
And
guy.
there's a shelf that's empty, and the sign says, "Sorry, the power to save the one you love out of stock." Oh, so I got dressed up for nothing, and he's got Darth Vader's helmet,
No.
and Palpatine's head is
Oh
peeking up.
no.
"Sorry, the power to save the one you love is out of stock. So I got dressed up for nothing."
Oh.
All right. We've got... You said 9 memes?
8. I mean 9 counting the one I told you I made, but
Okay.
that one doesn't count.
1, 2, 3...
While we send each other, our friend Caleb, who has been on the podcast before, was texting us, And it was really funny. And yes, Caleb, I am telling this story because I got such a chuckle out of it. He was listening to the meme minute of the last episode, and he goes, "I'm calling it now, double or nothing. Cameron made the Gonk Windu meme."
Gawk with the Windu.
Gonk with the Windu. And then 3 minutes later, I'm 0-4.
Well, if he declared it, we'll make it official on this week's score. So if you don't know, each week we make one meme. So of the memes we just shared, each of us made one. And we are now going to guess which meme the other one made. And I am looking at Rachel's memes now. We've got watching Kung Fu Panda 4, new art book of Kung Fu Panda 4. I know it.
Did you make the call out meme about me? No, I'm not like guessing. I'm just like thinking.
Are you wearing the Godzilla -1 Oscar shoes? Yeah, I am. That's so good. Godzilla X Kong, New Empire, Godzilla -1, Cars. Kidnap 1,000 children before I let this planet die. Godzilla at the Oscars. Cillian Murphy Ants. Bro, I ain't going swimming ever again. POV, you're into the wrong class. My alarms. My guess is the alarms one.
It's not.
So bad at this game. Is it the all at 1,000?
It is.
That was my gut reaction, and I ignored my gut. It's good. It's real good. That's really funny.
More accurate too.
Okay, let me bring up the score sheet here.
I can't believe I almost guessed the one that has the big watermark on it.
We are on week 24. I now fall to 12 and 13. Oh, first time falling below.
Did you make this one?
So I got dressed up for nothing. Is that your official guess?
Yeah.
I did make that one. Rachel improves to 16 and 8. Very nice.
You almost got me with the call out one. I was like, that's very specific. I was like,
And Caleb falls to 0 and
0 and
4
4
officially. We're not going to call it. Wasn't on mic. It was not on the podcast. So he is unofficially 0 and 4. Officially
I can absolutely
0 and 2.
provide proof that he said it, though, if anyone needs it. I'll kidnap 1,000.
Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone. This was a ton of fun. We are just going to barely get out from being our longest episode, which was last week. Just barely getting out.
We're talking about Godzilla vs. Kong next time.
Yes. So as always, thank you to Caleb Jacoby for our intro and outro music. Prop to Rachel for our artwork and Twitter account at Rebels Robot Pod.
Sorry, I'm yawning. Props to Cameron for our Facebook and now our Instagram.
Yes.
Bully us on Instagram.
And our Instagram is Rebels and Robots Pod as well.
Can't wait to accidentally send you one of our posts. I know it's going to happen. I've almost done it before.
Give us, also props to Athena for our editing. I have no idea. She's still out of food. She's very food motivated. Give us something to read on the pod. Leave us a review. Tweet or DM us memes or opinions. Let us know what you thought of Kung Fu Panda 4. Join us in 2 weeks. We will be talking about Godzilla versus Kong. And then the week after that will be Godzilla X Kong. I forgot to look up. Last week we had the Spanish name. El Nuevo Imperial.
This is Cameron Rachel signing off saying Athena has learned everything she knows from me except mercy.
Good night, everyone.
Athena's learned everything.
No, you have to start with the. This is Cameron and Rachel signing off. Did this last time.
I hate it here.